The 54th edition of the RAVENOL 24 hours of the Nürburgring begins at 3 o'clock on Saturday. But a couple of days out from that, we are busy in standard qualifying for not only the SP9 cars and those other cars eligible for top qualifying tomorrow morning. But the crucial thing is that during qualifying 2, this is the night practice and qualifying, if you like, and qualifying 3 tomorrow, all of the other categories and classes will have their grid order decided for the 54th edition, the 2026 running of the 24 hours of the Nürburgring. So incredibly important to try and get some good times in, but also data related to a wet track, which is certainly what we have on the Grand Prix Strecke and for certain segments of the Nordschleife as well. So it's risk versus reward for sure. But it's also a good way to test out what visibility is going to be like in the darkness hours, particularly with a lot of spray if you're caught up in traffic. Thank you for tuning in. My name's Johnny Palmer, and I'm joined for this segment of our broadcast of Qualifying 2 by Joe Bradley. We're live and free around the world on RS1, part of the Radio Show Limited network of channels. And, well, in the period between these cars last being out on track and now, I'd rather hope for a bit of improvement from the sky. But it's much the same. It's become a bit more consistent as well. And again, we've talked about in previous years, the fog affecting the Grand Prix Strecke. Well, there's a lot of rain at the moment in this. The one opportunity you get on the lap to actually overtake a few cars.
Well, good evening, Johnny. Good evening, everybody. We're actually just recovering from a hailstorm. Those white little blocks of ice were showering about our heads and causing some pain. It's a very, very wet track. I think tonight's session is going to be, the teams are going to have a bit of a jobs list, refinements on headlight adjustment and lighting adjustments on the front of the car to enable the drivers to see where they're going. We're not going to be necessarily going for lap time, but we are going to see just how these cars can cope with the wet track conditions. The conditions are going to change all through this session, Johnny. At the moment, the sky is breaking. The black clouds are going off. I say the sky's breaking. There's further black clouds on the horizon. The way that the weather builds up here, we're in the Eiffel Mountains, remember. We're quite high up, and it's a very large forest, and it's flipping freezing. This is not why we come to Germany. We can see our breath when we talk, and that's just in the studio here. Yeah. Outside, it's even colder. And then when the sun goes down, guess what? It doesn't just get dark, it gets even colder. So put your big coat on.
It looks like the wind direction's changed quite dramatically as well. I seem to remember those flags waving in completely the other direction yesterday. That was a headwind start-finish straight, and then it's almost now a tailwind for the cars completing a lap, and therefore down the Dottinger Ruhr as well, which will help them, of course. If you get in the tow of another car, then a bit of wind behind. Actually, no, that works in reverse. You want the headwind, don't you, so that the tow is then magnified, so it doesn't really help you a great deal. The other thing I love about this event is the mixed tyre manufacturer, and the two Mercedes, the Red Bull car and the RAVENOL car, numbers 3 and 80, going on to, unsurprisingly, treaded Michelin Pilot Sport tyres. But with other cars in that top class on different rubber, admittedly the Red Bull-backed Lamborghini is not one of them, but we have certainly some SP9s on Pirellis, others on Yokohamas, others on Goodyear. So there's a real mixture, and I by no means got to the end of a long list of different tyre manufacturers. And what is the state of the design of wet tyre that all of these tyre companies are bringing to the ring this weekend? Because that is where the race could be won and lost. Don't be fooled, by the way, by the Falcon branding that is carried by all of the cars in this event, because they are an event sponsor. So you might spot Falcon on the top of each of the wheel arches of the cars. That doesn't necessarily tell you that that is the right tyre that they are running on. Some are Falcon shod, but that BMW, for instance, is on Michelin's. The 500 Manhattan wheels entry. The other thing that I kind of lose track of, despite covering the Nürburgring Langstrecken series through the course of the year as well, but it's not until you get the opportunity to plunge into the various garages, and we're very lucky enough to have media passes that enable you to do that, and you stumble across a garage that has 6 and sometimes 7 cars within it, and there is barely room to squeeze between each of the wings and the bumpers of those cars. So goodness knows what it's like to actually work on some of this machinery when you're having to haul pretty large jacks, high jack stands, wheels, and then things like brake discs and calipers as well. There's no space if all the cars are still in the garage.
It would ruin my OCD of keeping a tidy garage, Johnny. It's absolute chaos down there. We talk about recalibrating our minds to cope with the kind of racing we're going to see on such a, it's a 25-kilometre track, and we've got to recalibrate. It's not what you would call a conventional racetrack. This is quite unique, the Nürburgring Nordschleife. There isn't any track like this in the world. The nature of the track, the way that we go racing in the Nürburgring 24 hours is again a unique way of going racing. You also have to recalibrate your mind and how the teams are going about their work. Like you say, sharing a garage. Normally, conventional race series, the team will get a garage to themselves, and you can work to your heart's delight with some nice presentation boards and a nice flooring down. Cleanse your mind of all things that, because you walk into any garage, you can barely walk around the cars, let alone take their wheels off. Everything is crammed. You're sharing if you're a 4-car team, fine, you might get a garage to yourselves, but you've still got to pile 4 cars into there, and it's really, really cramped conditions. And if we get more so in the race, when we see cars that are going to be meeting the kind of adversity that we are used to in endurance racing, well, that chore of putting your car back together is exacerbated by a crowded garage. If the team sharing the garage is doing the same and meeting that like adversity in dealing with getting their car back on track. We've got cars that are coming straight around on the Grand Prix Strecker. You've got a choice. When you complete a lap of the Grand Prix Strecker, you can turn left out onto the Nordschleife and on towards the Hatzenbach, or you can turn right and come around what would be the final corner on the Grand Prix Strecker and come around and complete another lap of the Grand Prix Strecker, or indeed another one, or go into the pits, or get out there onto the Nordschleife for some sighting laps. Because, Johnny, I think the weather report is that we've had rain, sleet, hailstones across the whole of this 25-kilometre course, across the whole area. So it's not like times where we've sometimes seen dry parts of this track and then we get to a wet part of this track. There is no doubt that every single car that you see out there on track will be on wet tyres. Treaded wet tyres are the order of the afternoon, or indeed the evening.
We do now have an updated entry list, and I want to say this is a final entry list as well. It was issued at 18:30 this evening, but crucially the date on it is the 14th of May, so we're much, much closer now to a full list of participants, 161 cars. But the more crucial thing is that a lot of the gaps as far as the driver lineups are concerned have now been filled in. If you've not discovered the page known as the virtual notice board for the 54th edition of the ADAC RAVENOL 24 Hours of the Nürburgring, it's quite a long URL, so I won't give you that, but I'll just encourage you to do a quick search using your favourite search or browser for the 54th edition of the RAVENOL 24 Hours of the Nürburgring, and you're looking for virtual notice board, or what the Germans call a virtuelle Aushang. And on there is a great old list of various bulletins, including Bulletin 37, which is the latest edition of the list of participants in number order. They do a version in the class order as well, but if you prefer it in number order, Bulletin number 37, open that up, get it printed off, and that should have all of the latest driver changes. I've got a digital version of it in front of me, so I should hopefully be able to keep you updated in returns of actual drivers in actual cars rather than just ideas to this point. And we're concentrating in the early phases of qualifying 2 on the Grello car 911, which has Kevin Estre, Ayanchen Guven, Preining and Campbell in the cars. So that is, of course, Thomas Preining and Matt Campbell of Australia in the 911. And then the next job I need to tell you is who is at the wheel of that car right now, setting purple times, but that will just be for this individual session. And the 911 is being driven by Kevin Estre, the man famous for that line, pass on the grass, Kevin Estre. So, yes.
Which is good news, Johnny, if Kevin Estre is out there on track, because there was a rumour circulating that he'd had a little bit of an off on his mountain bike whilst out training.
OK.
That turns out to be complete and utter nonsense. Well, so great to see him out there.
I was talking only just a short while ago that the fact that there is now a junior Estre racing, and I think in Porsche One Make racing as well, following in his father's footsteps. So it might be junior Estre out there who signed a quick deal, but no, it's categorically not. It's Kevin Estre driving this fabulous car, and the Grello machine has already potentially been in some wars, because at the end of the Grand Prix Strecker, it was dicing for road position with the 24 Porsche, and they were heading through Sabine Schmidt's curve and then Hatson back, and eventually able to clear the 24 Porsche just before the run down towards Flugplatz. We have plenty of other news as well, by the way, that has emerged from qualifying one. So, first of all, there was a big crash involving the 900 Porsche, which was suffering from a mechanical failure and then a fire for the Black Falcon Team Zimmermann Porsche. That car stopped at the side of the racetrack on the Grand Prix circuit. Driver got out and stood in the gravel, trying to beckon marshals towards it to put the fire out. And as the driver was doing that, it then got hit by the 146 GT Porsche, the all-female crewed car. And as a result, the 146 Porsche has had to withdraw from this year's race. So that is a big fan's favourite, due to run in the AT2 class. But there's just too much damage to the 146 car, whereas the 900 is, we hear, getting special dispensation from the officials, from the organisers, to run basically a new chassis in this year's race. So the 900 is going to be replaced, whereas the 146 is not going to run in this year's race. Other news, the Haupt Racing Team workshop located at Moispat, and that's just down the road along the Dottinger Hohe. And the number 67 Mustang is in for repairs there after the engine blew at Schwedenkreuz in Q1 when Christopher Mies was at the wheel. So car number 67 in for repairs just down the road of the Dottinger Hohe. And also we're grateful to René de Boer, who's still working hard on this event. He has spoken to Paul Meyer of Black Falcon, and as I say, this is where we get the information about the 900 car, the Zimmermann entry that is set to take part in qualifying 2 tonight, with Paul Meyer alongside Alexander Hart, Benja Hites and Benjamin Kozlowski. So that car being replaced and will be taking part tonight, or at least that is the plan. A lot of mist around the Eiffel at this stage, and this, Joe, is going to be a problem, I predict, overnight during the race as well, with temperatures as low as 3 degrees Saturday night into Sunday morning.
Wouldn't be the first time, Johnny, that we've had a red flag situation because of track conditions and indeed observation conditions, with fog being a common factor at this part of the world at this time of year as well. It's we're in the middle of May here. We're not quite in the middle of May. That's at the weekend, but we have got conditions that are changing literally by the minute. We can see out on track that it is very, very wet. Huge plumes of spray coming off the back of the cars, which indicates to us that the track is not just damp, it is very, very wet, full wet conditions. Drivers just a little bit offline as they go around the track, staying off that conventional textbook racing line. And just as I say that, we've got cars streaming past us here on the start-finish straight. Again, plumes of spray beginning to deplete, which means that the track is beginning to dissipate the water from it. It's a lot different out there on the Nordschleife, with pools and streams and rivulets of water running across the track. That's going to take a little bit of time. And as if by magic, another season has arrived with the sun breaking through and blinding us through our booth windows here on the start-finish straight. Sun still high, relatively high in the sky. We're not getting sundown until just after 9 o'clock. If the cloud comes, obviously the darkness will come a little bit earlier, but it's going to be after 9 o'clock before we see the sun go down and full dark conditions prevail.
Just getting some word about various cars in the Lion Speed awning, if you like, in the garage, because we caught a glimpse of Kevin Estre having to do battle with the 24 car, which is one of the Lion Speed entries for Lauren Heinrich and Lawrence Vantor and Ricardo Feller. And that had an incident when Feller was at the wheel in Q1, which did some damage to the front of that car, but that's been repaired and it's good to see it back out again. It is Lawrence Vantor at the wheel. That's one heck of a strong lineup again. Lauren Heinrich, who has done an awful lot of running around here, but has also experienced the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship of late. So Lauren Heinrich joining forces with Vantor and Feller. And that is not the only Lion Speed car in the entry either, with the number 18 car now with Jake Hill at the wheel, and that car has already done a time at 8:46.440 within this session. As I say, what will happen is that when this session is completed and qualifying 3 tomorrow morning, there will be a collective document issued treating all 3 qualifying sessions as one. But in the moment, right now, they're being timed as separate sessions. And then we get, as I say, a kind of aggregated qualifying, which will mean that cars looking to try and take pole in BMW 240i, in AT2 front-wheel drive and all-wheel drive, in the Porsche Carrera Cup 1 Make category known as Cup 2 here, all of those cars are qualifying for their grid position right now. Not necessarily in this session because it's so wet everywhere, but they were doing earlier today in Q1, and they will be potentially tomorrow in Q3 as well. For those cars, these sessions are way more important than the SP9s.
First lap times coming through, and the first car to post a lap time to give us an idea of just how bad the conditions out there. It's Kevin Estre in the number 911, the Manthey Porsche. Now, considering the best time from this afternoon session was an 8 minutes 21, and 9 minutes 54 was Kevin's time. The next car through was the number 80. Now, that was the fastest car with an 8 minutes 14.9 from earlier on. Martin at the wheel of that Windward Mercedes, his time at 10 minutes 9.3. Marciello has posted a time of 10 minutes 12. He's in the number 1 BMW, last year's winner, of course. And then the number 3, Lucas Howard at the wheel of the other Windward Mercedes, and that was at 10 minutes 8. So still 2 minutes, would you believe, off this afternoon's lap times. That was their first cycling lap, however. So, but I would say, Johnny, that the conditions are so wet out there, we're not going to see massive improvements until this track starts to evolve back to dampness and through dampness. I'm not even sure, because of the drop of temperature, whether we're going to see a fully dry line even appearing around the full track. We're going to maybe have a dry line appearing on certain parts of the track, but certainly we're not going to have perfect conditions for the nighttime session.
Yeah, and very rarely do you get perfect conditions around this place anyway. We're concentrating at the moment on this BMW Z4, which great to have some of the older shaped BMWs involved in the action as well. Keeping our eye out for some of the quickest cars that were out earlier on in Q1, including Raffaele Marciello in the number 1 Rover Racing BMW, by the way. And actually his time, yes, his time still existing at the top of the timing screen. So kind of goes against the fact that this is timed independently. It is in some circles, but thankfully I've got a screen that is telling me how they compare to times earlier today as well. That was a session that ran from 1:15 till 3:15, and the best time was set by Fabian Schiller in his number 80 Mercedes, an 8:14.957. And as Joe has mentioned, we're down in the 10-minute lap times currently. Raffaele Marciello finished earlier on in second position in the Rover Racing BMW with an 8:18.069. And then we had a Max Verstappen time in the number 3 Mercedes of 8:18.539, the car that Lucas Auer is currently driving. But Kevin Estre going purple through sector 2 and 3 and 4. But as I say, those purple times showing at the moment will be exclusive to this session rather than to Q1, because an awful lot of the track was dry in Q1, enabling that opportunity for Fabian Schiller to set his 8:14.9, which, when you consider the Grand Prix track, was very, very damp when he did that. Mightily impressive. The other thing to point out to you is that there are a couple of cars now on the scoring tower, if you're enjoying our coverage in sound and vision, that display the 3 characters TQ3. They being the number 1 Rover Racing BMW and the number 16 Audi of Scherer Sport PHX. It says TQ3 because they are already qualified for the 3rd stage of top qualifying, which will take place tomorrow. And there'll actually be 3 sessions: top qualifying 1, top qualifying 2, and top qualifying 3. And in top qualifying 3, there are 12 spaces up for grabs, but 5 of them have already been taken. And that was all down to sector times and a kind of theoretical best lap time from events that we've already had here at the Nordschleife and on the Grand Prix track. So NLS 2, NLS 3, and then one of the qualification races that happened a handful of weeks ago. And theoretical lap times, theoretical sector times were taken from those, and therefore we have a list of 5 cars that are already pre-qualified for top qualifying 3. And I'll give you the list in numerical order. The number 1 Rover Racing BMW, the number 16 Scherer Sport PHX Audi, the number 45 Realize Condo Racing with Rinaldi Ferrari is already through. The KCMG Mercedes AMG GT3, that's number 47, and the 84 Lamborghini Huracan GT3 Evo 2, which is the entry from Red Bull Team Apt. But below that, there are 7 spots that are currently unfilled. They are just blank spaces on a spreadsheet, and it'll be Q2, top qualifying 2, that will determine who those 7 cars are. I'm not hearing you, Joe.
Sorry, those 5 cars you mentioned, Johnny, that effectively means this is a practice session for those 5 cars already qualified on those theoretical lap times, which of course here at the Nordschleife are virtually sort of mythical, let alone theoretical. Especially in these conditions, we're going to get nowhere near those. But those 5 cars, treating this as a practice session, there's still plenty to do. It's not like the session isn't important. There's a lot of work for these cars. The drivers are finding out what this track is like in these wet conditions, which, if you have seen any of the weather forecasts, this is exactly what it could end up being like across the weekend. Unless the weather drastically changes, this is what we're going to get. Changeable conditions become a character of this race, haven't they? Changeable conditions, what we've seen over the years, sometimes for the worst, bringing out red flags. Let's hope we can at least race through the whole 24 hours. But it's going to be the drivers, the teams, the cars that stay on the good side, on the right side of good luck, really, because anything can happen here. Anything can happen here when the track is perfectly dry and consistent. It's even more so when you've got changeable conditions and just finding yourself, just out of the pits on the wrong tyres. In the wrong conditions for the tyres that you're on, it can really, really backfire on you. And it's not really down to anything you or the team have decided to do. It's just pure down to the look of the gods, really.
There was a phenomenal end to this race that was very much weather-related in 2017 when Connor De Filippi, who's back again this year, Christopher Mies, who's back again this year, and Marcus Winkelhock, see above, and Kelvin van der Linde, who's also driving this year as well. That was an Audi year, but the conditions towards the end of the race, very, very damp, for the first part of the Nordschleife. So Schwedenkreuz, Arenberg, down into the foxhole. Just horrendous wet conditions, but the rest of the track was dry. And it was all about tyre choice going into that final stint when they were up against, I seem to remember, a fellow Audi. And almost by accident, they picked just about the right tyre for the majority of the lap. There's a lot of standing water, I've just noticed, where Kevin Estre has just worked his way through. This is now into sector 7 for the Frenchman, and he's having to, again, go off the natural racing line to deal with quite a lot of slow, and that's very much in inverted commas, slower. Nobody's going slow around the Nordschleife today, I can assure you, but the mid-category cars that Kevin's having to clear as safely as possible, but that is potentially putting him into some very large puddles where grip levels are at a real premium, and you don't necessarily know where all that standing water is until you're in it and on top of it, and potentially aquaplaning towards the scenery. So even at this early stage of the week, it feels like the risk factor is particularly high.
There are drivers out there that we know are not put off by risk at all, and one of those drivers, Kevin Estre, comes to mind. Can you remember that pole lap back in a McLaren? I dread to think what year it was, maybe 2015, 2014, 2015. Kevin Estre, at the moment, perhaps the fastest car out there. We mentioned in 9 minute 54. That was his first outlap. He's about to complete his second outlap. He's gone purple, which means he's the fastest car overall. He's gone purple in sector 5 and sector 7. Not that far off him is Vantor in the number 99 Rover Racing BMW. Laurent went fastest in sector 1, and he was fastest for a long time in sector 2 until he's just been pipped in that sector by Bortolotti, Mirko Bortolotti in the number 84 Red Bull team at Lamborghini. So there's a mix of lap times coming through. The two Winward Mercedes, they've been quick and consistent. Purple sector time for our in the number 3. That's currently gone purple in sector 8. He's just been pipped by Marciello. It's changing. I'm monitoring these sector times, Johnny, and as I speak the words, it changes before my very eyes. So these conditions, you can see by the amount of water that's on the track as well. You can see, because there's no rain at the moment and the skies are, I'm not going to say clear, but breaking, that water is dissipating and the track is evolving.
That pole lap for Kevin Estre in a McLaren, a Door Motorsport entry, was actually 2014 when he did an 8 minutes 10.9. So to give you some context, what are we now, 12 years on from that, and still the best time so far today is 4 seconds slower than the McLaren time in 2014. But in fairness, it's not like-for-like conditions. There's now a few more cars head through Galgenkopf and onto the Dottinger Hoor. Maxime Martin is at the wheel of the number 80 Mercedes, which remains the fastest. That was a time set by Fabian Schiller. But Maxime Martin, who is back regularly with AMG, now getting his chance to do a couple of laps, as you must do in any of these 3 qualifying sessions.
Marciello's just gone through in a 9 minute 50.8. He's currently second from this afternoon's time. However, that man, Kevin Estre, he is absolutely on fire out there. The number 911, the 911 numbered Porsche from Manthey, 9 minutes 38. That's how much quicker he is. At 9 minutes 50 is the second fastest time in that top section of this field. But Kevin Estre is absolutely on fire and finding grip from somewhere no one else can.
Just going to search through the supplementary regulations for this event to make sure that we're on top of who needs to do what during a night-time run as well. Article 8.7 says minimum laps during qualifying, and that is all the drivers must complete the minimum of 2 timed laps during qualifying 1, 2, 3. Now, what it doesn't necessarily make clear is whether you have to do that in each of the 3 sessions. I'd be very surprised if that is the case. It's going to be 2 time sessions in qualifying 1 and or 2 and or 3. But the interesting thing about this session, of course, is that it's held in darkness hours because it runs through till 11:30 tonight. There are a minimum number of laps that you have to do during the race. All drivers must complete the minimum of 15 laps during the race itself. If the race is interrupted for more than 2 hours, each named driver must complete at least one race lap. So that's a sort of accepting clause within it. But the next thing I'm trying to look for is the night hours and whether there's anything you have to do within this session, therefore, to be again qualified for the race. So bear with me on that, Joe, as the number 44 Falcon Porsche comes out of Tiergarten. No option again, just like earlier on today in qualifying to access the pits immediately out of Tiergarten and Hohenrhein. You have to stay on the racetrack, do a lap of the Grand Prix circuit, and your only way into the pits is using the Hyundai hairpin to then come into pit lane.
I call that the back door.
It's a back
kind
door
of like
as well.
In the back door, isn't it?
Yeah. And the other thing is you have two options at that point as well. You could stay out and just do another lap of the Grand Prix track, so just keep lapping the Grand Prix track all the time, or you come in the back door of the pits. Yeah.
Yes, you sometimes get that with cars that are just wanting to test something. They've maybe repaired on the car, so they'll go out, they'll do a couple of laps of the Grand Prix track and then head out onto the Nordschleife or indeed come back into the pits. So we're seeing all of that. Times are coming down. We've still got that 9 minutes 38 from Kevin Estre. That's the current quickest time of this session so far. The rest of the field into the 9 minute 50s. We've got Maxime Martin last time by 10 minute 9. He's kind of cooled off a little bit, showing yellow sector times. He's in sector 7, sector 6 or 7 at the moment. Purple sector for Estre in 3, sector 3, 1 minute 14.9. That's how long that sector is. And then in the longer sector 5, a 2 minute 6. He's still massively quick. He's 2 seconds quicker than Martin, who's currently in the number 80. Remember, that's the number 80 with top of the timing screens from this afternoon's lap time of an 8 minutes 14, which I'm afraid we're going to get absolutely nowhere near. Even towards the end of this session, if it doesn't rain again, this track is going to take some evolution to come back to that state. So we are monitoring their lap times, and this, Johnny, is more of an indication of the sort of pace I think we're going to see from these cars and driver lineups, more so in the race at this time of night on Saturday evening. The forecast is to be very similar to what we've seen the last few days, so we expect no real changes. So this is good data, this is good experience, finding out where the grip is out there on the track for the lesser experienced drivers. And of course, let's not forget as well, you mentioned earlier on this afternoon, the Hatzenbach section of this track, that has been completely resurfaced. And it was who was it that mentioned it?
Both Alexander Sims and Ben Green, his teammate, yeah.
Yeah, they both said that it was smoother, not necessarily grippier.
No, it's ironed out one or two of the bumps on Hatzenbach, but I said, oh, nice grip levels as well, and they went, well, not really. But not that they've necessarily had much experience in the drier conditions. There would have been at least an NLS race that was dry through there, I would have hoped. But yeah, noticeable grip, it's not really there. But as I say, it's one of the newer bits of asphalt. As to whether it's brand new is a different story. I can shed a little bit more light on qualifying, and qualifying 1, 2 and 3 sessions. So only cars having successfully passed scrutineering and displaying the appropriate sticker can take part. Well, that'll make sense. All, and the word all is in capital letters, all the drivers must complete the minimum of 2 timed qualifying laps during qualifying 1, qualifying 2, or qualifying 3. So you don't necessarily have to be in Q2 tonight and therefore be doing night laps. All drivers which are entered for 2 cars must complete the minimum of 2 timed qualifying laps on each of their 2 cars. So there are a number of drivers entered into 2 vehicles, and you've got to do 2 laps in each, therefore. And then qualifying 3, that's where there's a bit more of a caveat regarding tomorrow's top qualifying. But I'm still struggling to find anything that absolutely stipulates you must run in night quali to become used to the conditions, which is a surprise, I have to say. We've had nearly half an hour, by the way, of this 3.5 hour session. It's Johnny Palmer Joe Bradley, and now getting into position, Bruce Jones for the next hour or so. Grip levels really at a premium now, as both this Ferrari and Lamborghini are proving through Hohenrhein, Bruce.
I've thoroughly enjoyed watching the first half hour or so of this, with the light falling, and some of the scenes the cameras have been catching are absolutely encapsulate what the Nürburgring is about. Long shots, trees, rain, spray, difficulty at every particular corner. It was really picking up on what you were saying about the small areas like Hatzenbach being resurfaced, and you know, never is the track the same. Just getting images of Franz Conrad himself. How many times, how many race meetings has he been here across, what, 50 years? But every single time, because of a drop in temperature, change of wind direction, it's a different occasion. You found that, Joe? Yeah,
a big fan of this race is our friend Darren Wood. He's been to this race many, many times. Hasn't come here this year. He reminds us that if it gets warm just a little bit, it gets foggy. However, it's not forecast to get a little bit warm at all. It's forecast to get colder. So that might be the saving grace here.
It could just. They're forecasting 1 degree overnight between Saturday and Sunday. So think of the campers.
That might keep the fog away.
Yeah,
think of the campers, but that might keep the fog away.
Yeah.
But the campers don't sleep, Bruce. They stay out around the campfires, don't they?
Yeah, well, they talk a big game. Can they make it to Sunday morning? But it's also, when the temperature is much colder, it takes a lot more out of you if you're camping. So you're just, you know, burning that energy to keep warm. But still light in the sky. It's been a very grey day with flashes of sunshine, but it chops, it changes, and every single lap it's getting a little bit drier for now. But what's it going to be? We've still got plenty of time till 11:30 tonight for things to change. So teams are rotating their drivers through, but every single lap they're finding different degrees of grip. You know, you said earlier, I'm very glad I'm in the commentary box.
Yeah, I am. I absolutely am. And Will Murdoch, a lad I know who was racing in the NKC last weekend, he's out at Aden now, and don't think he got anywhere near as much rain as what I've just described here. Certainly not hailstones. So just at Aden now, they haven't had hailstones, and he's saying it's not as wet as what we've got here, with, you know, plumes of spray coming off the backs of these cars. But great to have you along, Will. You're obviously, let me know what your conditions are and where you're staying, etc. Because my heart will go out here if you're in a tent, mate, in one of the quagmires of a campfield here. All part of the atmosphere, though, isn't it?
Yeah, and if you're one really good piece of waterproof clothing, it's the last thing you put down at home before you left the front door, and it's still there.
Dear. Yeah, you'd have been finding somewhere to buy some more.
Just witnessing some of that Kevin Estre action over the curbs, down at the Haug hook as well, the first few corners of the lap. He's not shying away from mounting the car up some pretty high curbs, over the painted white lines as well. And the other thing you've got to think about is in the Caracciolo carousel, that concrete strip in the wet must be like ice. I mean, the Falcon Porsche's coming up to ice curver now, which sort of its name extends beyond its reputation. But yeah, trying to keep the car straight when you're at something like 45, well, not quite 45 degrees, 30 degrees, let's say, through the trough, the drainage ditch of old. Quite how Kevin Estre hung on to that car, and he might have to do it in the race several times like his co-drivers.
Yeah, but the concrete strip is around the bottom. If you gradually slide up, then you've got a different surface under your right-hand tyres. Just saying, might make a difference. Of course it's going to make a difference, but this is where the experience comes.
Remember when this track was built, that concrete element of the carousel was a drainage ditch. They weren't meant to drive around it. That was there to catch the water. But it was Caracciolo who decided to use it and hook the drainage ditch and run around what is effectively a bank corner.
Which the science of it sucks you in, but you need to be going at a certain speed for that to work. Klaus Bachler staying well off the racing line. That's the karting line that Joe Bradley's taught to me through the years, and it means that he pings out of Galgenkopf at a much higher speed, away from where all that standing water is. So hugging the outer white line, and now doesn't really have anyone in front of him that he can pick up the toe from, but the wind's kind of in the wrong direction for that anyway. The wind will be helping him down the Dottinger Hoor.
Look at the way the rain lights lighting up that plume
At the back. It's fantastic. It's like
It's like it's on fire.
a red tongue.
Looks like a Batmobile, doesn't it?
Yeah.
With that red flame coming out of the back. It's not. It's the rain light. Brilliant.
I tell you what, Backler's putting in some very impressive times. He just banged in the fastest, one of the longest sectors of the circuit, the one that takes nearly 3 minutes. So he's down in 13th, 14th position, 14th at the moment. But this run is good. He's got to complete it, though. And complete it he will, because he's just got through the final sequence of corners. Tiergarten onto the start-finish straight, still kicking up the spray, but not as much as he was about a quarter of a lap ago. Will we see an improvement from him? Okay. Backler in a Porsche 911. It sort of goes together very nicely. 9 minutes 39. No, he stays in that position, 14th overall.
The other cars that we haven't seen so far after 35 minutes of running, as the Dacia Logan's had a spin at the carousel, so actually should be facing the other direction here. Is this a classic moment of it being spat out from those concrete slabs and up the road, or did it make contact? Did it have some contact towards it in order to spin the 300 car, but not a pleasant place to be sitting there.
Yeah, sitting on the tarmac strip above the concrete ditch we've been talking about, but faced the wrong way. But if he'd hit the barriers at the top, double wave yellows there, no surprise, there'd be damage on the side of the car we can see. Because we're seeing the side that would have been on the uphill side through the corner. The next gaggle of cars, they come up the crest. Of course, you're fairly unsighted as you come up the hill from the Stahlstrecke up to the carousel. They come over the rise, and they're trying to do some braking on wet concrete. That's working really nicely, isn't it? But he's still sitting there. Marshall's earning their keep.
This is Christian Geilfuss, by the way, one of 4 Germans driving this car, along with Oliver Krieser, who I'm sure is a name that you will know well if you've followed this race for a few years. But
if he was on another part of the track, he'd just be able to turn around using the inside curb. However, if he turns towards the inside of the corner,
he's off.
He's going to nose down the drainage ditch that is the concrete carousel.
Yes, because where the concrete meets the curb and the grass at the bottom, it's a really big angle, so he's going to thump the nose of the car.
Yeah, he's not going to be... I don't know. I actually don't know how he's going to get out of that. He's going to have to do an Austin Powers kind of reverse 74-point turn using just the tarmac bit on the flat top of the thing. Very, very tricky predicament he's found himself in there.
Well, just getting a message that... Oh, God, the message is coming in thick and fast. The Dupre net Audi has left, the all-wheel drive S3 has left the track at the Breitscheid area.
But 2 cars that we haven't yet seen in qualifying 2 that did feature in Q1, the number 5 Black Falcon Team EAE Porsche that Mustafa Mehmet Kaya and Thomas Kiefer and Gabriele Piana, together with Mike Stursberg, are entered into the race in. And then the other car is the 48 Loesch Motorsport by Black Falcon Porsche again, which was the quicker of those 2 cars in qualifying 1. It's actually 16th fastest when Dan Arrow was last in it. Did an 8:30.9, but we haven't yet seen either of those cars that featured fairly well in Q1. It might be that they're just deciding to sit out this first segment of qualifying 2 as some very skillful driving, but now unfortunately there's going to be a backlog because 1, 2, 3 GT3 cars, SB9 cars, 4 of them in fact, together with one of the Hyundai N TCR cars have arrived on the scene, because now unfortunately the Dacia, having found the inner trough, the drainage ditch. Now Geilfuss has maybe stalled the Dacia Logan. Or is he waiting for a gap, perhaps, a safe place to rejoin? He has got it going.
The predicament there was the first car, it was a Cup 2 Porsche that came up towards the back of that, got stuck behind it, and the other cars didn't want to go past because it was double wave yellow, so they were lining up on the tarmac upper strip, got going. But I tell you what, I think only the Dacia Logan could have run down, as we were describing, to the bottom, because it has the shortest distance between the front wheels and the nose of the car. It's really a tiny little bluff nose. If you'd had something with a great big front splitter...
That's a good point.
Not happening.
That's a good point. If it had been a GT3 car, that would have been stuck there a lot longer. He's done a really cracking job to get out of that. Kevin Estra's been into the pits, by the way, gentlemen. Thomas Preining is now at the wheel of that car, currently on a 9 minutes 43.8. his fastest time for that car was Kevin Estra. Let's see if Thomas Pranning can match that. That's currently the fastest time in this session. And as I say that, I've just spotted something that is contradicting I'm going to contradict myself here, because there's two cars, one with a 9 minute 39.7, another one that I found gone even faster with a 9 minutes 39.2, and that's Klaus Bachler in the number 44 Falcon Motorsports Porsche, currently running 14th in this qualifying session, but that's a 9 minute 39.2, which is by far faster than the majority of this field here, with Menzel in the Dunlop-sponsored Porsche 911, car 17. That's almost matched him, half a second off with a 9:39.7.
Yeah, only a smattering of the number of cars at the moment are getting under 10 minutes overall for a lap. Conditions for now appear to be improving, but what you always have to look for on the timing screens, is there a yellow band? A yellow flag at a certain corner. There was one shown but now clear. Didn't in fact even say where it was around this track, but it is a phenomenal enterprise to get all the marshals working in unison. But don't forget, a lot of the drivers, they don't get very long in the car, because it may be a 3.5-hour session this evening, but they're rotating their drivers through. They're probably trying to give them all another daylight bunch of laps, and then nighttime laps. Nighttime's coming, but not just yet. 9 o'clock is due to be really when it... you looked it up on your telephone, didn't you, Joe? 9 o'clock nightfall. It's 20 minutes from now?
Yeah, 9 minutes past 9 to be exact, according to my app. And the sky is breaking, so it's going to be twilight all the way to 9 minutes after 9 o'clock.
The other good lap time you mentioned in that list, Joe, was the 9:39.7 that Nico Menzel has done, and he's now entered the pits. He's in the number 17 Dunlop Motorsport Porsche, which, remember, is the sister car to the 44 Falcon Motorsport Porsche. They're both run by the team known as Schnabel, and Stephanie Alberts being the team manager of the Schnabel organisation. Another spin, this time for the 967 Porsche, which is in the 947s. But the what number was that? 947? And it did it under 9 minutes 47 lap time, I think. Or maybe 946. Anyway, the spin happened.
Just leaving the second of the Sabine Smits curves.
967.
6-7, very kind that the driver rotated another time just for us to see the number on the door. But again, that's a nasty position to be spun, because people are so busy trying to keep their car on the track as they come out of the second Sabine Smits curve. And if you're diagonally across the track, covering half the width, not good. But right now, the Schnabel engineering crew clearly have got a handle on these current track positions. Of course, for years, it's been Falcon Motorsports. Now it's run by Schnabel Engineering, as it always was, but because they wanted to split their effort, the Dunlop Motorsport car, as you've explained, and the Falcon Motorsport car, riding, in fact, with Klaus Bachler in the Falcon Motorsport car. There's quite a lot of lifting there, Joe, isn't there? It's not
well, it's
full
not,
attack at all.
It's not, but talk about commitment. It's a different kind of commitment. It's a very feathered, delicate kind of commitment. And a driver out there who's showing very delicate commitment is one Jake Hill, a familiar name with all of our British race fans. He's in the Lion Speed GP Porsche. He's just put in a 9:44 on his first lap in the wet. So his first lap out, a 9 minutes 44. He's down in, that car is currently, I've just lost him, there he is, down in 33rd because of this afternoon's time. He's within a minute of the car's ultimate fastest time from this afternoon. But keep an eye out for the number 18. That's the Lion Speed GP Porsche. Jake Hill at the wheel, and he's on fire. First lap ever in the wet, and he didn't get a lap in this morning. So Jake Hill is delicately feathering his way around this track to good effect.
Yeah, no, very, very good effect. Obviously been promised some more Tamiya models when he gets home.
Just to clarify that, they did actually lap in the session, the number 18 Porsche, but they had their times effectively disqualified or deleted because of the seals around the ballast compartment were ineligible or not present or whatnot. Anyway, so the car was checked, realised that something was wrong with it, and therefore you get your times wiped as a result.
That sounds like a mid-session check, Johnny.
Yes, like your call to the weighbridge, for instance.
It's not like they haven't got a lap time from earlier on. They've got a lap time there, but it wasn't as competitive as what they would have been if they'd passed that scrutineering check.
And funnily enough, a certain Simon Hill is making the point to me that Jake, in his first ever wet lap around the Nordschleife, P2 in the session, and only Kevin Estes was quicker. So that's not bad for finding your feet very early on. And we're looking forward to seeing how that car will go, not only in the hands of Jake, but everybody else in car number 18 this weekend. Patrick Kolb is part of that lineup, together with Max Hoffer and Kyle Tilley as well, the Lion Speed GP number 18. Here's Klaus Bachler, purple through not the longest sector, because that is tricky to do at the moment in these current conditions, but he has gone quickest through one of the long sectors, sector 5, 2 minutes and 5 seconds. He'll have to complete the lap, as everybody does need to do in qualifying 2. And whips across the line with potentially an improvement. Question is, no. The problem is the other sectors are just a bit too wet.
Yeah, now just before this session, when the official entry list was sort of the latest version of the entry list came out, I started making changes. Obviously, with 161 cars, there may be a few. There didn't seem to be too many until I got to the halfway point in the numbering system. But the higher the number, the fewer cars in the top class were there to be found. Eventually, I reckon it was about 65 changes. And Max Hoffer was one of them, who came as a late entry into the car that he's sharing with Jake Hill, Patrick Kolb, and of course Kyle Tilley, the man who sort of put that deal together. So there's a lot of horse trading, but particularly in the sort of cars of lower performance. A lot of them come here with just 2 names on the entry list, and suddenly in the blink of an eye they've got rid of those, got 4 completely new drivers. So quite a lot of ink on my page. We'll have to go through and sort all those tomorrow. But again, it's just typical. A lot of people come here just looking for a drive, haven't got one in advance, but know some doors are going to be open at some point.
There's certain parts of this track that we can see, and we've had information from Will Murdoch out at ADAC. We've got Matt Riddles telling me it hasn't been hailstoning or raining much where he is. I forget where he said he was. All fans that have been part of this race. And we can see where the less wet parts of the track are now becoming damp. They're now becoming damp, and dare I say it, before we see get to the end of this session, if the rain stays off, and that's a big ask looking in that sky, we might see some parts of this track that are going to be seeing a dry line forming. So interesting the way this track's evolving, and it's all about being on the right part of the track at the right time to optimise a lap time. We're not going to get anywhere near this afternoon, though, are we?
No. But what I was interested in is whether Klaus Bachler's lap that he'd just done was quicker than the lap time that he'd already done in this session. And as soon as
16 seconds down.
Yeah, okay. So the times are extending, unfortunately, rather than going the way we would prefer. Conor De Filippi was in 2 minds there, whether to overtake this Aston Martin or not, which had a big twitch at Hatson back. And I'm trying to work out, is it one of the Pro Sport cars?
Yeah, I think it is. Again, I can only see the back end of the car in the shots. Another car out on the track really starting to pick up pace is the one that's had so much interest. It's the BMW M3 Touring, so effectively a BMW M4 GT3, but reimagined. And obviously the M3 Touring is a shape, and it was at one stage early this afternoon running in SPX rather than SP9. It was the quickest car of the lot.
It's actually one of the Valkenhorst Aston Martins, which runs on the Pirelli tyre, and that was the BMW Touring then driven by Conor De Filippi, who has now got through in the number 81 SPX entered car. This is a quick BMW though, because it ended up finishing qualifying 1 in 12th position, and SPX is one of the categories that's eligible for top qualifying and potentially top qualifying 3 as well.
Right, track conditions might be getting marginally worse, but Jake Hill, other people were losing about 10, 12 seconds, maybe traffic, maybe the weather getting worse. Jake Hill on his next flying lap was only a few seconds down on his first one, so that's actually probably even more impressive.
I actually think that's very hard to judge. Visually, we can see the track getting drier. I think that's more traffic.
Yeah, there's an awful lot of traffic.
The reason why we're getting a difference in lap time and a slower lap time is getting through the traffic, and that's always going to be a factor. But there is certainly, I mean, if we look on the Grand Prix track, that there's a dry line beginning to be very apparent. Yes, there are still damp sections. Yes, it's still not brilliant, but it's certainly different to when we were first out there at the start of this session.
Slightly off the road there was the Christopher Haase-driven 16 Scherer Sport PHX Audi, again on the Grand Prix Strecker, so thankfully there's quite a lot of runoff there, but also he whacked the curb on the exit, so got to be careful not to be doing that too often. Here are the defending champions then of the Ravenol 24 Hours of the Nürburgring. The win went to Rover Racing, and that's the reason why that car carries the number 1 into the 2026 edition of the race, with 3/4 of its driver lineup retained year on year. So they found a good mixture. It's actually Jordan Pepper, the one that wasn't in the winning quartet last year, that's just brought that car into pit lane.
It's such a programme they have to get through. 3.5 hours to play in the evening, but nightfall is coming. Conditions changing with every lap. The fact you have to rotate drivers through. The fans still running through their own programme. Just seen a bit of wife carrying out there. It's normally an event in Finland in the summer. But anyhow, yeah, I think, Joe, you are entirely right. At certain parts around the back of the circuit, it's getting closer. But I tell you what, this is when I admire the craft of the drivers the very, very most. Full rain is one thing, full dry is another. Light falling, and the confidence of someone who's an expert like Klaus Bachler. He's been a superstar for, what, 15 years in Porsche 911s, maybe slightly more. The way he's happy to go right to the edge. Anybody else will go, I could cut myself a bit of slack here. It's only practice for the SP9 class. It's not defining anything for them, but he is absolutely
scary,
pushing.
The other thing is, because of this multi-class racing that we've got, and we're getting towards the time, Johnny, when I'm going to give us an idea of who's leading in the other classes. You have to move offline. You have to move off the ideal drying line, and you then go on to a full wet offline in some areas on this track, which will cost you lap time, but also will it have much of a cooling effect on the wets? It will have for just a minuscule amount of time, and then as soon as you start putting some energy through them, that heat's going to build up again in the wet, isn't it?
Another little factor just caught my eye that is changing for the drivers as it becomes darker. Suddenly the effect of lights from the campsites is something. I thought, what's that I see up ahead as we look towards Starstracker? Is that a flashing yellow screen or something? No, just someone's campfire, maybe their tent going up.
Yeah, indeed. And the thing is, you're going to have to get used to installations being built whilst you're in this session, and probably into tomorrow, and probably being torn down at some stage on Sunday morning as well.
Well, it's always like, I'm trying to think which driver it was in the 60s or early 70s. His turning point to a corner was this bush in the field, and about the third lap round, he went past and the bush wasn't there. It turns out it was a sheep. And the sheep found some better grass down the slope.
How many drivers have told us that they can smell the barbecues? They can smell it through bright shine. Whereas there's a lot of fan action going on around there. They can literally, and I can't remember, was it Chris Tadulu who said it was making me feel hungry because I could smell the steaks and the burgers that were being cooked.
I think he's already got those sort of heightened senses because he's sort of fighting for every corner on the track.
Yeah. Bachler's sector times, I can tell you, he's put in a purple in sector 3, not so much in sector 5, but he's gone massively quicker than anyone else. Apart from that is Stoltz. Lucas Stoltz, a 2:07. Bachler's put in a 2:06 through 7.
I'll offer you another one, though. Third fastest at the moment, Jules Gounon is flying in that number 3 Mercedes. He's put in the fastest sector 1, fastest sector 2, very competitive in sector 3. So that's a car we know has looked good on the less wet track, but right now Jules is desperate. He's been racing for such a long time, but he really needs another big result. He's always there or thereabouts. He's always in the battle. But some drivers seem to have this ability, like Kelvin van der Linde, 3-time winner here, to come away with the trophy. But Jules would definitely want this. And I see on the late editions, his girlfriend Michelle Gatting's got a late entry for the event. And,
really?
Yeah, so they're here as a couple, but obviously in different pit garages, or possibly, because you put so many cars in one garage, possibly the same pit garage. But Michelle's driving one of the Müllner Motorsport Cup 2 Porsches.
I just want to share with you a quote from Nick Yellerly, which is quite fresh, actually. His clips, audio clips, although in written form, have appeared on the Nürburgring 24-hour ticker. And he says, we haven't driven the Lamborghini. He runs, by the way, in the number 130 Red Bull team at Lambo. and he says we haven't run in the car too much in the wet. What happened to Dorian Boccolacci a few moments ago? He was in the barrier for the number 17 Dunlop Motorsport Porsche, and that was a big squirm. Just trying to work out where that was.
He's only just taken it over, actually.
Okay.
It was out in the hands of one of his teammates. I'm trying to remember who was at the wheel at the time.
So was that Flugplatz, maybe, coming out of that awkward right-hander and then the run down towards Schwegenkreuz? I'd need to be able to just witness precisely what happened and when again, to be fully sure.
Doesn't that just show, Johnny, how close to disaster these guys are?
He's at the end of the lap now, so did it happen at Galgenkopf, therefore?
Well, that's all I can presume. Yeah.
Well, limping back, and the sector times up until that point, I'm going to say, were reasonably healthy in the number 17 car. Let's just have a look. 1:16, 11, 2 minutes 10, 3:09 through the long sector 7. So, yeah, it's more likely to have happened towards the end of the lap, having just caught the back end of that incident. And he'll be pleased if he's done any damage to the car that he's not had to do that many more kilometres. And he'll have to do a full lap of the Grand Prix track, of course, as well, before the team can then assess it. Just to finish the Nick Yellerly point, because they haven't run a great deal in the wet in the number 130 Lamborghini, there's a lot to manage about the tyres and how to approach the braking zones, says Nick. I've only had 2 laps so far. The last time I drove here in the rain was either 2022 or 2023, and overall though, I have a good feeling and I know what's required in these conditions, but relatively inexperienced in a hurricane that he is placed in this weekend for Red Bull Team Abt. Joe, you were talking about class leaders, not leaders, quickest times within classes and categories, considering we are in proper qualifying for those particular cars, or do we wait for a bit longer? I don't know.
I don't know. It's really exciting out on track.
All right, fine. We'll stick with it. Jules Gounon.
Yeah, I mean, let's keep an eye on Gounon.
Well, lights are flashing. He comes up on a Cup 2 Porsche, passes it. No, sorry, it's a Cup 3 Porsche, passes it with ease, but he just wants to make it absolutely clear. Long shots show hanging cloud below the tree line. Of course, the track isn't stable. It's up and it's down, and the vertical is really quite enormous in places. They get to the highest point on the circuit, which actually seems to be the very wettest part of the circuit. Again, the flare from these super powerful headlights is a BMW in its way. It sort of gets out of the way, but not with a great alacrity. But again, as you pointed out, Joe, the car's trying to keep out of the way, don't we, to go on the very, very wettest parts of the circuit. So there's a certain circumspection, but Jules Gounon looks as though he's trying to go on a qualifying lap. Doesn't really need to press too hard. But again, you've got to run to the capabilities of the car. Anytime you run far beneath it, things you just tend to go a little bit wrong. The
Boccolacci Porsche, the number 17 we saw there, he just got onto towards the edge of the track, and then bang, the car was gone, and he was a passenger until he spiked off the barrier. Luckily for him, the barrier was really close to the edge of the track. I think if that car had gone, if that was a 20-metre grass runoff, he would have gathered momentum on the grass, would you believe? It was the fact that he was able to bounce the car back onto the track that was beneficial to him.
Just basically sliding. It was an oblique angle of attack.
Yeah.
The barrier was bending in its arc. That was fine, right? So Jules Gounon has got out of Galgenkopf. Now he can actually relax for the first time and just keep accelerating along the Dottinger towards the end of the lap. But his times were good early on. I'm waiting to see what the lap will be completed with. But the fastest times, we've had 2 drivers within the last sort of 20 minutes doing a 9:39, haven't we? But since then, conditions do appear to have got a little bit worse. But certainly Jules Gounon getting very, very stuck in. Actually, again, with a long shot, you start to think the car's slowing down a bit. It's not at all, but certainly for once, he's got clear track, because around the twistier parts, as you travelled sort of through the Stefan Beloff S and towards the end of the lap, he was getting traffic, but clean run through Tiergarten for him.
He's become one of the stars, hasn't he? The superstars of GT sports car racing, Jules Gounon. I mean, we're old enough to remember his dad, Mark, of course. But Jules Gounon is the real deal out there in a GT car.
Yeah, but what Jean-Marc did was gave him minimal time in single-seaters. 1 season in Formula 4, came second in the French Championship. That's 2013. European Formula Renault. Bit of French Porsche, get a roof over your head. His father said, basically, I'll pay for 1 season of single-seater racing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Lucas Stoltz has had a spin on the Hatzenbach. That explains now why there were yellows at Hocheichen. I was peering across to Bruce's track map just to remember precisely where Hocheichen is, but it's between Hatzenbach, the end of Hatzenbach, and Kittelbacher Hoor as you go towards Flugplatz, all on his own.
Yeah, basically, if you start getting things wrong at Hatzenbach, the corners come at you so quickly, you're on the wrong line for the subsequent corners, and Hocheichen is where you can, for the first time, you can start to straighten it out a little bit. And whenever you walk this circuit, we do go down as often as we can towards Hatzenbach when the cars are on circuit. If we're not in the box, the proximity of the barriers is what really gets me, and it is a real escalation. Slightly wrong, even more wrong, bang is effectively, that's a paraphrase, but that's how it goes.
But it just opens out very slightly. You turn right, you go downhill, then you sweep left, and then the track rises because it goes over one of the public roads underneath. So there's a bridge where the racetrack crosses one of the public roads that accesses the inside of the circuit, where there are then many villages as well. We've actually spent 1 year staying on the inside of the track, which was quite a novelty. But it just shows that if drivers of the calibre of Lucas Stoltz are getting things wrong or just testing the grip levels to their limit, then it's pretty tricky out there.
It's a voyage of discovery every time you go for that brake pedal. I assure you, these are very, very brave drivers. They've got very large amount of courage, is what I was going to say. It takes massive courage out there, if you know what I mean. And that's why I like being here in the comms box, as I'm going to say, all weekend.
Yeah.
Even more so in these conditions. Jordan Pepper, I want to mention, because I've been trying to get him in. He's been on it. 3 sectors, 4 sectors, personal bests, and then a purple sector in sector 5. He is massively on it. Jordan currently in the number 1, the Rover Racing BMW. This is the car that won last year. They're going for consecutive championships, aren't they? Consecutive victories here. It's a big ask, especially in 2026. But he is on it with a sector 7 that has gone purple as well. Green in sector 6. Purple in sector 5 and 7. Keep an eye on Jordan Pepper's lap time. He's currently, last time through, in 9 minutes 52, but he's going to improve on that, I think.
BMW on the Dottinger Hoor, clearing a little bit of traffic. And if you look to the bottom of the shot, that's the public road that runs absolutely parallel with the Dottinger Hoor as well, through Antonius Bucher. Then the much more meaningful braking area into Tiergarten, the left, right, left, and there's a squirm as well from the rear wheels of the BMW as the accelerator is applied. This is the number 1 car of Jordan Pepper, as you've been mentioning, Joe, and it's a 9:32.0, which is the quicker of the lap times we've seen most recently.
Yeah, about 7 seconds quicker than anything else. Would have been better still had he not got the twitch coming up to the start finish straight. The HWA squint, and it's the 1990s all over again. These cars, 3 of them entered in, they're known as the Evo.R. Just think of DTM Mercedes 190, very, very, very special cars, reimagined, and 3 of them, it's just such a treat. We were eulogising about them earlier, but do get a look at the stream, because they're not exactly as they were back in period, but certainly just the memory of those days of the DTM, it was just a fantastic series. And of course, in subsequent years, in recent years, it's turned to GT3 class cars. I preferred it when it was a separate series for touring cars, but we look at touring cars around the world and they continue to change. You know, even the British Touring Car Championship is different this year from what's run before in terms of body shape, but certainly the big names and the big catering, that was the thing that really excited me the most.
The big catering, did you say, Bruce?
Oh, yes, you chose your food according to the manufacturer. They kept you could start as a slim lad. By the end of the season, you nearly needed a second air ticket.
Shall we have a look at the classes?
Let's do that.
It's just gone 9 o'clock in the evening, by the way, so still got 2.5 hours of this to run. It completed at 11:30 tonight, but yeah, good time to do it, Joe.
I absolutely lost track of all time there, but this seems really, really as if we've rehearsed this at the top of the hour.
Just before you do, what's that on the pit lane exit road? It looks like a block of wood, maybe, that's sitting in not quite the middle of the road.
It's like a wheel chock, isn't it, to stop it running down the hill? But the pit lane's not that steep. But anyhow, that should be there.
That might be what it is.
It's got a bit of tape around it, though, as well, as if it used to be attached to something. But it's ended up pit lane exit, and there might need to be a yellow flag, quite possibly a code 120 or 60, for a marshal to head out and collect that. Go on.
Right, this is not mine. Somebody else has said this in my ear. I've got to credit Mr. Hindhoff for this. I think he's spot on. That looks like a block of wood that you put under the air jack. So the air jack comes down onto the block of wood. When that air jack's gone back up, it's stuck on the jack. And the car has then carried it out.
So it's sort of indented in the wood.
Yes, absolutely.
And then as the jack's gone up, the piece of wood is still stuck to it.
It's pure theory on Hindhoff's part, but yes, that sounds like a very strong theory, that. So the classes, we've got stacks of them, and what we'll do throughout the race at the weekend, we're going to run through our class leaders at various points in the proceedings. So starting at the back in 125th place is the BMW 325i class. That is currently being led by Car 100. Hasn't got a team name, just Car 100, just a load of mates bringing that BMW 325i. It's the driver at the wheel of the car is Hausmeyer. In the V5 class, which is 119th overall, that's car 440. Again, no team name. Ebner is the driver of that one. First team name to appear is in 115th spot, and that's the leader of SP3T. That's the number 10, Max Kreuzer Racing. In 105th place is the VT2 Hecker leader. That's the rear-wheel drive VT2 class. That's the number 519, the Ravenol Japan entry. In 103rd place is the BMW class. That's being led by the number 898 Volkenhorst Motorsport entry. VT2 front, that's front-wheel drive and four-wheel drive, but we don't need to mention that anymore because there aren't any four-wheel drive cars in the field.
Yeah,
so VT2 front, they're in 99th place overall. That's the number 480, the Dupre Motorsport. In 94th place overall, the BMW M240i class. That's car number 195, the Adrenaline Motorsport Team Manhattan Wales. Car 448, no team name, is leading V6. They are currently 87th overall. And then the SP8T class, that's being led by the number 59 Dürr Motorsport. They're in 68th place overall. 65th overall is the SP7 leader. That's the Reiter Engineering number 91. And then the TCR class is being led by the number 830 Hyundai Motorsport entry. They are 58th overall. 52nd overall is the SP10 leader. That's the 888 numbered Hofer Racing by Bonk Motorsport car. And then Cup 3 is being led by the number 962 W&S Motorsport. They're in 50th place overall. Just behind them in 49th place overall is our SP4T class leader. That's the number 50 Max Kreuzer Racing. And then not far behind them is the SP Pro class leader. That's the number 992 Manthey car. They're in 47th. 43rd overall is the AT2 class leader. That's the number 632 Black Falcon Team Fanatec. And then in 31st place, the Cup 2, the Porsche team, the Porsche class, I should say, 777 numbered RPM Racing. They are leading that one. AT1 is being led by the number 75 Max Kreuzer Racing. They're in 27th overall. SPX class leader, the number 81 BMW M Motorsport. They're in 12th overall. And then, of course, the SP9 class, our overall leader, the number 80 Winwood Racing. They are the fastest, I should say, rather than leader.
Right, what we're going to finally find is some times are really starting to come in. I was about to say,
hang
is
on.
there going to be a yellow? Is anyone going off? Because the track is definitely drying out, and the fastest first sector of anyone has been banged in by Lucas Stoltz in the Winwood Racing Mercedes. We've seen people improving their times, but not relative to how they were at the start of the session. So it's still going to be not a lot of green out on the circuit.
I'll just tell you, Joe, that, you know, that's only that Hatzenbach, by the way, that where this 677 Asbest Racing BMW has spun and is now trying to find a safe location to do a quick U-turn, maybe a three-point turn, in order to get back into the race. But yes, to the all-wheel, the Dupre Motorsport Audi S3 Lim or Limousine is actually a Quattro. So that is an all-wheel drive car, the Dupre Motorsport car.
Right. I remember that car.
Nets.
We've had a close look at that car
last year.
Yes, well-engineered piece of kit, that. And it's a kind of a privateer type of engineering-wise, isn't it? And they've kind of built that car around that.
So that is how 677 ended up tagging the barrier, actually, with the nose of the BMW. 677, as I say, is an asbest Racing entry. Asbest Racing are well known to fans of the 24-hour series as well. And 677 currently being driven by one of the Neuhausers. We have several of them in the race, and not necessarily from the same family either.
Michael Neuhauser.
Thank you. Sharing with Marco Grilli and Thomas Alpiger and Sebastian Tauber as well.
3 Swiss and a German. Really, really multinational race, this. Now, one thing I don't think has been mentioned, certainly not what I've been talking, is Intercontinental GT Challenge. What do you need to know? Of course, this is the series that runs across 5 major events. Starts the year in middle of February, Maguire's Bathurst 12 hours in Australia. This is the second round, Nürburgring 24 hours. You then go to the CrowdStrike 24 hours at Spa in Belgium, end of June. Suzuka 1000 km. Kilometres in Japan, and then Indianapolis 8 hours in October. But this is for manufacturers, okay? And in this event, we've got 26 cars registered for it, cars that have been entered for the majority of races in the series. We've got 13 Porsches, 6 Mercedes, 3 BMWs, 3 Fords, and 1 Ferrari that are here for points. 25 points for victory, no halfway points. It's what you've got at the end. So they can put them in the bank, go about their lives, go to Spa for the 24 hours. Remember last year, that was on consecutive weekends with this. It was a real ask, and a lot of the drivers, the weekend before were at Le Mans. So this year it's better space, trying to go for big manufacturer points in that.
Drivers get good rest time, though.
They
Be
do.
fine. 3 consecutive weekends.
Yeah, I mean...
Did you do those events, Bruce?
Yeah.
Last
You
year.
did.
Yeah.
Last year, you did, yeah.
I'm not a day over 85.
Pretty large segments in all, in fairness. The 16 car of Christopher Haase, which is the Audi from Scherer Sport PHX, about to complete the lap, as is Jordan Pepper as well. Actually, no, Haase's only halfway round. Looking out for the number 1 car of Jordan Pepper then, who last time through did a 9:32.0. He's potentially going to be quicker because of the purple sector time he set through sector 5. But I don't know, he's still full speed through Tiergarten and Hohenrhein. I wondered whether there might have been some sort of caution out, but it's all happened behind him at Arenberg. So he will complete the lap, and it's not far away. Still again in the 9:32s, but isn't able to better his time in this session. And of course will stay second based on the time set on a much drier track during qualifying 1. And remember, if you're in SP9 or SP Pro or SPX, actually this is all just practice. It won't determine your grid position for Saturday's race.
Nice to be able to relax. In fact, it's so funny, just having had the footage of Christopher Haase, he's had more airtime in the Nürburgring this year than he has in many years, because he's had all those battles, so 2 fantastic battles in NLS with Max Verstappen, and some of their overtaking manoeuvres were just epic on each other. It was just the cleanest, most fantastic racing. The fact they got to do it in consecutive events really added to the mix. So Christopher, you know, he's, as we said earlier, he started his racing career in Dacias in a 1-make series, and then very quickly progressed. But you know, it's great to see him. How old is Christopher now? He's yes, well, he'll be getting towards 40 end of next year, so he's still a stripling at 38.
I just still think of these drivers as just young drivers. You're barely out of their teen years. You've just brought me smack down to earth there, Bruce. Christopher Haase is almost 40. Then again, my firstborn is almost 40, so what am I doing? I'll get me caught.
Don't drop that envelope from the royal family out of your pocket for your centenary.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'd be interested to hear what Kevin Estre thinks of the conditions currently, because it is very wet out there, he says, but it's crucially drivable. With no severe aquaplaning, says Kevin Estre. It was good to be driving on a wet track again, I have to say. It's been over a year since the last time I did it. So it's nice to know, again, where the track is wet, where it's wettest, and where there are big differences in grip from one corner to the next. I immediately felt confident in the team, done a good job fitting the right tyres with the right tyre pressures. That's the other thing, of course, that can be altered through the race, but you can't keep coming in when you want to, because a stint's going to be 8 laps around here. Once you've cleared the first stint and the formation laps, which, by the way, a formation lap around here takes 20 minutes, but then you're going to be doing 8 laps, 8 laps, 8 laps, and if something's not quite right, and you discover this on the first lap, you're going to be best part of an hour before the team can work on the car.
And the thing is, Johnny, you're spot on, and in these conditions where you go out of the pits, you're on a set of, you might be on dry tyres and it starts to rain, you might be on wet tyres and it gets drier. Like a conventional track, which is like 3 to 5 miles around, you just come back into the pits and change your tyres again. You can't do that here. You've got 25 kilometres of track to get around. I mixed miles and kilometres there in the same sentence.
You got away with it.
You know what I mean? But yeah, it's a recalibration, and you are going to find drivers that are going to be tippy-toeing around on the wrong tyres with the wrong conditions for what they are optimised for, and it's going to be a race where the winners are going to be the team of drivers and the teams that can adjust and are flexible enough and agile enough to be able to go with the flow of what they're presented with.
Yeah, and I mean, constant question won't be tyre pressures and stuff, it'll be what weather's coming, how soon is it coming, have I got another lap, or is it worth me coming in now, making a tyre change?
And with wet tyres, if the wet tyres are pressured in a certain way, if it starts getting dry or drier and starts getting dry, and in the daytime we've literally had hailstones followed by quite warm sunshine. And if that happens, the tyre pressures are pressured wrong, those wets can disappear in a matter of a few corners.
Yeah, good point. Very good point.
So I'd already drawn some attention to Christopher Haas's lap time. That was about 4 minutes into it, but we're now about to see whether he can whip a bit more time off the 9:55 the 16 car has already done. Headlights well ablaze, and that's the first thing you witness at the start of the Dottinger Hill, because we're at the point now where it's getting properly dark out there. This is again useful information for all of the teams who will be hopefully still in the race by this point on Saturday night, and how much you can and can't see. Again, there was a bit of a squirm because he had to deal with one of the Mercedes in possibly the SP10 class coming out of Hohenrhein. Across the line will go Christopher Haas then. And here it's a 9:52.909 with a couple of absolute best sector times through there. 9:52.909 was an improvement, I think, by about 3 seconds in car 16.
Yeah, not even sure it was that much.
Okay.
But I tell you what, that is 20 seconds slower than the lap that Jordan Pepper did. He did that one lap in the number one BMW, which clearly was astonishing. We saw him a little twitch coming onto the start-finish straight. He then went round the back and then into the pit. So Jordan, the South African racer who's done a lot of his racing over in Europe and in Germany, has handed over the car now to Sheldon van der Linde. That's the Rover Racing number one BMW. But that was a super, super impressive lap. But let's just reiterate, in this session for the top class cars in SP9, this is a practice session. But the top handful of classes, it's still a practice session. Their top qualifying will come in 3 sessions on Friday. But for the majority of runners in the classes further down the pecking order, this is their qualifying. This is their chance to set the grid. So they'll be frustrated by the changing conditions. If you got a good lap in early on, you're laughing big time. But no one wants to know whether those dark clouds, how they manifest themselves. It has largely improved recently, but of course, you're operating effectively about 30, 35 seconds, maybe slightly more, maybe 40 seconds down on what you should be achieving on a dry track. So it's tricky, it's about survival. The light is falling all the time, the campfires are increasing. Tough luck for any hungry drivers, but the lights you're starting to get as the overall light drops, the darkness of the forest encroaches, and then you come through a point on the track, you got the landscape on the outside with fires going, with great big, well, they're edifices, aren't they, Joe, that people build? They're multi-deck viewing facilities. Yeah, temporary multi-deck viewing facilities. Sometimes you've got flatbed trucks, they peel the canvas side off back on the side. They've got a full stage, they've got hot tubs, blaze of light.
If they weren't around the outside of the Nordschleife, they'd need planning permission.
Yes.
Some of the structures are feats of engineering. Talking about the darkness, and I'll probably reiterate this story during the race. During those dark COVID months, we had quite an iRacing league going on with quite some notable names part of our iRacing league, and we did the Nürburgring 24 hours on iRacing. We had Adam Christodoulou in our car, and during my stint, I could not see anything. My old eyes, you know, adjusting to the light and the headlights. So I said to Adam, I said, how realistic is this then? You know, real life must be a lot better than this. And he actually said, oh, it's much worse than this.
Yeah.
I was like, what?
I can imagine.
Are you boys crazy?
Muscle
You know,
memory.
it's like, and yes, and you know the way you drive a racetrack where you optimize every braking point into the corner, every apex, every exit speed, optimized, you know what's coming. That's how Adam drives the Nordschleife. That's how these drivers are driving the Nordschleife in this top class. They are absolutely optimized, even in these conditions where it's a relative voyage of discovery, finding grip, going on the brakes at the last point and finding the grip. They are driving these cars as fast as they possibly can in whatever the prevailing conditions are. It's quite phenomenal to see.
It is, and it's quite interesting. At the moment, we're riding on board with the VW Golf, so a very different performance potential to the SP9 class cars, but again, it is being driven to the maximum of what that car can do. The revs are totally different. The stage is still the same. Just want to go back to that period of iRacing. John Hindhoff and I did quite a lot of the digital NLS series, and it was so good, the graphics on that. Within a few moments, I forgot it wasn't real. But where it was fantastic was the fact you'd have an incident, and you could ask the director to show it to you from multiple angles, because mysteriously in the digital world he could have a helicopter above the car at every point on the circuit. You could see every accident from forward, backwards, sideways. So it was really good. But the point I want to make about that is the fact that an awful lot of the drivers, to keep themselves in, didn't know how long they'd be out of racing during COVID, and BMW in particular put their entire media team on it as well. So they were going, we're keeping you on the money for when we go back racing. A lot of engineers came across, and everybody had their eyes just opened enormously. You already had a toe in that pond, or maybe a lower leg, but
honestly, we had
up to your shoulders.
You know,
I think about
people like Bobby Thompson, Daniel Rowbottom, Adam Morgan, loads of touring car drivers, loads of engineers who went all. We raced 3 nights a week. You know, it was a great excuse to you know, what are we doing tonight? Oh, I can't. I've got a league race.
Transparent,
I don't want to go back to those COVID days, but it was we helped each other through it. We all helped each other through it.
There had to be a way of killing those hours somehow, and also find some racing somewhere, and you couldn't do it for real in those days. So it was an excellent backup, and of course, many of the drivers that are competing here this weekend love a bit of sim racing on the side. Some of them are only here because of their success in sim racing. Chris Lulham's in a car again this year, who has shared, by the way, with Max Verstappen in the past, been a race winner with him in the past, indeed. So Lulham, who made his name in sim racing, loving the fact that he is back again for a full metal drive, as you coined the phrase, Bruce. Just caught sight, by the way, of Lance David Arnold, who's now in one of the HWA Evo Rs. That's the number 61, the black car, and he has just snaked his way through Tiergarten and Hohenrhein to go back onto the main straight and potentially another full lap. Well, he's done half of the Grand Prix track. We await to see whether he will hit Hatson back. That car's running 4th in SPX. And still we go on with the potential for the odd sector here and there to be improving, but nobody's going to get anywhere near to an 8:14.9, I'm going to suggest, probably for the rest of the night.
Just want to introduce a name who's sort of a man at the moment in the world of Porsche, Lauren Heinrich.
Yes.
He did 4 years with the Williams eSports team, 2017 to 2020, so first year of COVID he was still in there, but it was the fact they discovered other people who did iRacing and put them onto, you know, Formula One teams were employing them, putting them on their sims, because they already had an understanding of how a sim would work, of course, because that was their background. But then it was suddenly a springboard for an awful lot of people to come through. But to me, Lauren Heinrich was a name I was only really, you know, he did Formula 4 up to that point, or whatever, a bit of towing, a bit of Porsche stuff, not at the top level. And then suddenly you look how he's just evolved, and he's now pretty much the go-to man at Porsche. The last year or so has been phenomenal for him. But, you know, for him, COVID was a good thing. It gave him a shop window.
Yeah.
Chan Guven as well, I'm told by John Hindhoff, of course. Chan Guven's now regular in the World Endurance Championship, but driving here this weekend for Manthey in their Grello car, the 911, joining Kevin Estre, Thomas Preining and Matty Campbell. Speaking of that car, it's turning right now and heading towards the latter portion of the lap. So Flanscott not that far away for the 911 car.
Yeah, Chan Guven had already been racing, though, in Porsches. I mean, he'd done a bit more, you know, tarmac racing than Lauren Heinrich had, but then COVID came, and again, he transferred across. But, you know, Chan Guven had done a lot of Porsche racing beforehand. In fact, I saw him out at Sakir in Bahrain win the FIA GT Nations Cup for Turkey with Sally Yoluch.
Yeah.
What year was that, 2019? 2018, I apologise.
So Chan and Sally have driven together in cars?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
But that was the first time I'd seen Chan, and I thought, whoa, he's quick.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe he'll make a mistake. He did not make a mistake.
I forgot to mention one of the major names of the driver that we know, of course, that was part of our COVID league, was James Lippman, who's watching at home and watching intently. I haven't seen him behind the wheel of a car for some time, so come on, James, get your finger out. We need to see you back behind the wheel.
Barcelona 24 hours, maybe? Got a few months to sort something for
Yeah,
that.
I don't know if he's moved to Barcelona. I don't think he's moved. He actually was going to move to Barcelona. I'm not sure he has. GM, let us know.
That wasn't my reason for saying the Barcelona 24 hours.
Yeah,
I just thought, end of September.
Makes sense. He was always wanting to pick out a great deal and get himself into a car, wasn't he?
As I was going through the 350 driver corrections on today's thing, I just expected to be writing JM Lippman in something. You know,
Yeah,
there must be a Cayman out there with his name on it.
Yeah, at the last minute.
Yeah.
There's still time yet.
Kelvin van der Linde's now been put into the #1 Rover Racing BMW, and this car is still second fastest after Raffaele Marciello's time much earlier on in the day. So it has done an 8:18.0. We're closer, though, to the 9 minutes 30 or so, but that was the time done by Jordan Pepper. And when you compare that relatively to a lot of the other times being done right now, that was a barnstorming lap in the current conditions, so should not be overlooked. We've recently had a 9:36 from the 44 Falcon Motorsport
Probably still
car.
Klaus Bachler, I'd think, in that one. Let's have a little
It was probably a Bachler tie.
Oh, it's Morris Shoring on board at the moment.
Yeah.
Maybe it was Morris, actually. I don't know how many laps. He must have only just been out, but
Okay.
Bachler has been consistently on it since the conditions began to improve a tiny, tiny bit.
Yeah, I think that 9:36 has been there for a little while, actually, but you're right that Morris Shoring has now taken the car over. Morris, a winner of the 24 Hours of Le Mans in his category. So, again, looking for a very successful weekend, coming out of the camp where there are two Porsches but on very different tyres and some excellent liveries as well, particularly for the Dunlop car, the Dunlop Motorsport car that all the press pics of that came out at the start of the year, sadly, for an NLS race that then couldn't take place because of weather conditions. But we're excited to see how it gets on, although Dorian Boccolacci has already been in the barrier in that car today in this session in number 17. Alessio Picariello's been out in it since, so that rather suggests that there's nothing crucial that is broken on that car, but they may still be working on it. It sits in the pit lane.
Right, we're very nearly at the one, nearly just 2 hours to go in this. I just want to apologise. My maths is normally fairly good. I was saying it's about a 40-second deficit from the best times to the worst. Absolute arrant nonsense. Best time in this session, 9 minutes 32. Best time in this morning's session was 8 minutes 14. So let's call that, between friends, an awful lot of time, or 1 minute 16 seconds. So we are nowhere near improving. The light has actually sort of freshened up a bit, but it's about to flop into darkness. Track conditions improving in part, but still super, super tricky. But for the teams, it's rotate the drivers through and try and keep it on the island. Johnny just moved back from the screen, a move around the outside at the end of the Dottinger Herr.
Which was closing, though.
Which was closing, yes.
The door was closing for Kelvin van der Linde. He committed to the outside line coming out of Antonius Bucher. And the problem was there were two slower cars that he needed to get by there. One on his left and then one immediately in front of him. So that's another thing. You know, one or two drivers may have been away from the Nordschleife for a few months, possibly even 12 months. And these sessions do provide the opportunity to be back in traffic, to have to make those split-second decisions again. Kelvin van der Linde, a 9:28.223. So he is even quicker, therefore, than that time offered by Jordan Pepper. And that'll be the quickest time we've had this evening, I reckon, 9:28.2 for Kelvin van der Linde. But compare the 8:18s that we had a slew of and the 8:14.9 in qualifying 1. So we're still a minute and a quarter away from that. But yeah, again, signs that this track is getting more grippy all the time. And Thomas Preining reaching the end of Hatzenbach, now back in the 911, the Grello car. He's purple through the first 2 sectors, Bruce.
Yep. He's picked himself already about a 1.5 second advantage just through those first 2 sectors. Now definitely a dry line as he goes to Flugplatz. Will it still be a dry line when he works his way through towards Schwedenkreuz, towards Arenberg, to Foxruhe? He doesn't know. He's finding out as he goes, but suddenly things just start. Oh, and he's gone fastest in Sector 3 as well. So we might be looking at a lap down as low as getting towards 9 minutes 25. But if he keeps on at this pace, this much advancement relative to all the quick times that we've seen so far, as rain is in the air as he gets to Arenberg. But it may be light rain, but if he carries on at this pace, there is still a dry line, but definite flecks of spray on his windscreen. Actually, that's rain. There's nobody in front of him, not for some distance, but certainly a fantastic lap from Thomas Preining. Welcome on board, Mr. Snowden.
Well, indeed, thank you very much. Good to be back. And it's the nighttime stuff, the exciting bit, the bit we like. And just for a bit of fun, as I've said to John earlier, add some rain in as well. What more can you want?
They did. Racing. You walked in the corner of the booth, you put yourself down, got yourself comfortable. John's just...
I brought it with me.
Did you? Yes, you did.
I think there's enough... House says take the weather with you.
But there's enough... Exactly. But there's enough drama just as the banking lights up, as the light falls from the sky and all this... Fantastic fan structures can be picked out in as they become brighter as it gets darker around. But certainly for the car on the drive, Thomas Preining is just bashing in those quick sector times. Remember, the fastest time in this session, 9 minutes 28.2 seconds. Fastest time overall, 8 minutes 14. And that was in the first 2 hours of 5.5 hours of practice. But for the cars not in the top few classes, this is their second and final qualifying sector session.
The bizarre thing, Bruce, is that it's actually getting warmer outside. And the reason it's looking a little bit lighter is because the cloud is actually lifting a little bit here on the front straight, here on the Grand Prix circuit, and the weather is blowing through. That wind that Johnny was talking about, he was spot on, by the way. It has changed direction, but looking to where the weather comes from, which is roughly southwest, so down towards the first corner from where we are, it's much brighter in the sky. Look the other way, it looks like Armageddon is about to arrive. Looks like something from Independence Day.
Not again.
Yes, well, there is a bit of that at the moment. And I think we are going to get more teams wanting to do some laps tonight and get drivers who haven't had... I said earlier on today that there's a lot of drivers who have not done the Nürburgring 24. There was one opportunity this year to get some twilight darkness running in, and we couldn't make that happen because of the red flag, the stoppage, and the tragic circumstances on that first Saturday, the Saturday of the first of the 2 qualifying events. So there are people who need to get out and find their way in the darkness. This place is very dark.
It really is, but it's going to become... I think it's going to be busy the whole way to the end for that very reason, because people want to get a nighttime lap. They also want to get a wet nighttime lap. How does the spray hang? Whatever. So for a lot of people, and I thought it's very interesting, Kevin Estre saying he hasn't had a wet lap here at the Nürburgring for over a year, because he does do some of the NLS races, he does do the 24 hours. He may then come here and it'd be wet every single time he comes for the next 2 years. It can work like that. But right now, it's seat time. Get the experience. And again, you talked about the fact that the temperature has suddenly risen. That suddenly presents an entirely different feel for the cars.
And you'll also see a little bit of inversion if it gets much warmer. This is the wrong time of night for it. It would normally be later into the night or earlier into the morning, depending on which way you look at it. But when you get that inversion, that's when the fog comes. And that is a race stopper here. It's one of the few things that it would be stopped for. The flares up on the far side of the circuit as well. I just want to say a quick hello in Austria to JG. Hello, Johannes. he is trying to avoid the Eurovision Song Contest in Vienna.
Me too. Didn't even know it was on.
Who's playing?
Yeah, exactly. Everybody.
Mozart.
Well, that's what we're up against at the moment. So Nick Damon, we know, will not be tuned into us right now, but everybody else, I'm sure, who is a motorsport fan is.
I was going to pick up on a point you just made there, John, about how different this place is on so many levels, and there are just layer after layer level. We can keep bringing things out, but all of them are qualified. Le Mans, it's a 24-hour. I'm talking 24-hour races here. Le Mans, it's dark, yes, but it's also fairly lit. It's flat. It's relatively boring. I'm going to be shot for that one, I know. Spa, you have contours, but it's still got the pit area. It's relatively lit. Yes, you go out of Eau Rouge into Radion, it goes into the darkness and whatever. This place is 25 odd kilometres and 100 and plenty corners. Uphill, down dale, how many changes of contour and gradient and whatever. And also the other thing is minimal runoff. And not 4 classes, not 3 classes, not 2 classes, 23 classes with massive speed differentials, all of which the top drivers you're talking about, the extras of the world, that haven't driven in the wet for over a year, have got to encounter and deal with all the time.
A lot of people will be tuned into us either listening on RS1, part of the Radio Show network, Radio Show Limited network around the world, or watching on Nürburgring 24's official YouTube channel here at the 54th ADAC RAVENOL 24H. Thinking, why do we not see safety cars? Why do we not see full course yellows, neutralisations? It doesn't work like that here. We use slow zones, we use double waved yellows, code 120s, code 60s, and those are the speeds in kilometres an hour that you're allowed to do through those zones. It's all monitored by GPS, and therefore people can and do get penalties. And here are 2 penalties, just to underline that. So the number 941 Porsche Cayman GT4, the 992 Club Sport car. This is the Airbacher Van der Schneef family outing and Rysinski machine. They were exceeding the maximum speed limit in the code 60. So on Saturday, after the first lap, they will have to come into the pit lane and stop for 45 seconds. Now that is one of the cars that is down in the classes, but it can happen to everyone. We've got the Walter Streichek car as well, which is the E89 Z4 BMW. They were going even faster, and so they'll have to come in at the end of the first lap for 45 seconds after the first lap. And there was even some, I remember, I think the number 75 from memory got pinged in the first session as well. Bruce, it almost has to be self-policing here because of the nature of this track. I've said it before, I'll say it again for people who just join us. This is about putting the responsibility back with the drivers and say, don't try to squeeze half a second here, 5 miles an hour, 10 kilometres an hour, whatever, because we will catch you and the penalties will be punitive.
They have to be, and there isn't a race in the world where it's more, I think your phrase is bang on, self-policing than this. And I think also the fact that a vast number of the drivers in this spend their time doing NLS races, it's the same gig. There might be 4-hour races, they might be slightly longer. They have to do it because you never go out on the car with fewer than 100 rivals. There may be 120, 130 people out there. Just want to highlight one little thing. I said Thomas Preining was whacking up the pace. He's just put in the fastest time of this session until it's just been beaten moments later. He did it at 9 minutes 25. Second lap, the 911 Manthey Porsche, and Kelvin van Linde, Rover Racing BMW, 9 minutes 19. I thought we'd get down to 9 minutes 20. We've gone beneath it. So that number 1 Rover Racing BMW, last year's winning car, won the 3rd win for Kelvin van der Linde. He has his finger on the pulse. But this session is far more than about just quick times. As we were saying, John, other than the very top classes, for everyone else, this is their second qualifying session. But the primary job isn't qualifying. The primary job is getting all the drivers through the sequence of dry-ish in the day, damp in the day, hail, whatever, and then moving into darkness and having the same sort of combinations.
You're listening and watching us live from the Nürburgring Nordschleife. It is the 54th running of the ADAC RAVENOL 24H of the Nürburgring. Peter Snowden, Bruce Jones and me, John Hindhaugh, in the Global Broadcast Centre. At RSL_studio, use the hashtag RSLN24. Hello to our colleague Sarah Esser, who's tuned in. Not sure what part of the world Sarah is in at the moment. She's somewhat peripatetic in her broadcasting and tends to be all over the place. So Sarah, thank you for joining us. We'll see you soon and hear your voice on the airwaves of Radio Show Limited. We've got a very busy time running up to Le Mans, as you might imagine. It's first round of the World Endurance Championship last weekend. Second, thank you, Bruce. With the Churchillian hand signal there rather than the Steve McQueen one, which is or the British Archer.
Thank goodness it wasn't the first round.
Yes, indeed. That looked like a Eurocopter just dropping in there. Not sure why that was coming in. I think that was at the medical heliport down at the. No, it can't have been. We'd have seen that as it dropped in. Next weekend we've got Spa Classic, so we're looking forward to going back up to Spa. I just seem to be shuttling between Germany and Belgium at the moment. There are worse things to do. Wherever you are in the world, let us know where you're watching and listening. Is this your first Nürburgring 24 hours, as many of the drivers are, rather than ominous looking sky, as a few people have mentioned. Hello to Florida calling. I do feel like the Eurovision song. Let's have the vote from the Florida jury. Blur Fiend, you finished work for the day? Yes, you have. Out of the Porsche dealership. Maybe not quite, actually, from the look at that picture, but thank you for joining us, Blur. And Dan Vitali says, is it a natural reaction to crave German beer and food while watching the Nürburgring 20? Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes. Weiss beer. May I suggest Weiss beer, white beer, wheat beer, and a variety of Wurst, sausages, large and small. Bit of speck.
And, you know, it's
bread.
It's about educating yourself. And you've got the Spa 24 hours, and it's not as though there aren't good Belgian beers to get your teeth around.
Indeed.
So,
indeed.
Yeah, get those fruit beers out. And, yes, good idea. Live with us.
Yeah. Theme your food over the weekend. Ian Bowden says, do you think we'll get a full night's running this year? Do you know what? That's about as easy a question to answer, Ian, as who's going to win the race. Peter Studs just literally licked his finger and put it up in the air the booth. That's got nothing to do with answering the question, Nancy. He does that from once in a while. We've got used to it, Dan.
I'm going to window licking shortly.
I honestly have no clue, because every weather forecast that I've looked at, and even as we're getting close to the race, it seems to change every time. The locals that I've spoken to who know these things, there's a couple of people here that we see every year who work on security on the car parks, etc. And I've said, die Wochenende, Sonne scheint. Just a shake of the head. Mixed, I think, is the answer.
One of the stall holders in the old paddock, which was
yes.
in the 70s, going and looking at metal signs, trying not to buy any books and all of that.
Did you buy a book?
No, I had some
He's done very well this week so far.
A man of stall. He was telling some American visitors, he said, they were asking about the weather. He goes, well, what you have here is you have a quarter sunshine, a quarter rain, a quarter fog, and a quarter snow.
Yeah. That's it.
So he's got his finger on the pulse.
Yeah, but that's fine, but it's all in the same hour.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Therein lies the problem. My current forecast that on the app I'm using, which makes it probably entirely inaccurate, is that for Saturday race start, we are looking at approximately 50% precipitation, increasing towards 60 to 70 around about midnight, and then moving into Sunday.
That's the key. The temperature is the key.
Yeah. Is the temperature is looking at
2 to 4 overnight on Saturday night is the worst I've seen. 6 to 8 is the best.
11 degrees at start.
Right.
Dropping down to 7 around midnight.
Right.
Going into Sunday, stand by. Sunday morning, we're looking at the low of 3 degrees at between 2 and 5.
Well, that's missed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And that's your jeopardy, isn't it? The fog.
And if there's rain as well, that's going to fall as sleet or snow, as we've seen. We lost the first round of the NLS. By the way, I'm not doom-mongering here at all. The Porsche GT3 Cup Team Fanatec car getting its alternative fuel. That is the only one that fuels through something, those cars are the only cars that fuel through something that resembles a racing fuel rig. Everything else is coming from a pistol grip pump in the pit lane, which you share with your pit mates and the next door pit. 5 or 6 cars in all of the pit boxes this year, apart from one. There's 4 cars, the 2 Winward cars, the Dupre car, and there's a BMW in there as well. So they're the only ones who've got a 4. Everybody else is 5 or 6. It's been a long time since I've seen 6, but we have got a lot of cars this year.
We have a lot of messages to look out. 2 minutes ago, not even that. Heavy rain, the far side of the lap, from P86 to P101. Now, bear in mind, there are ostensibly 172 turns around the circuit, thereabouts. So you're really talking about the area, nothing serious, just around Exmüller, Bergwerk, nothing much, nothing to write home about.
Schwedenkreuz to Adenauer Forst as well, so in the early part of that lap. So I wonder if we'll see a few cars now, gentlemen, peel back into the pits with the drivers having done what they need to do and get out and do some laps, get their eye in, as it were. But you don't want to risk the car. We've seen already one withdrawal with an accident today. The GT tyres, Porsche, the number 146, the all-female crude car coming across on the Grand Prix circuit. That was even before we got out onto...
It's irony of irony.
Oh, absolutely. The most room that you've got, the most runoff that you've got, and came across the number 900 Black Falcon Porsche that was having its own issues. I think there was an engine bay fire in that. We never really got the bottom of it. And absolutely nailed it. The driver from the Black Falcon car, rather wandering around by his car, which was very worrying, and had a GoPro mount and camera on his helmet, which is strictly forbidden. And I suspect there may be some sanction there. Talked to the GT team, and the stewards are not putting any blame whatsoever on their driver, and that's official. But their car is out, and the number 900 car, Rennie de Boer, thank you, Rennie, for delving into this, speaking to the team manager. They have sought permission and been granted permission to replace that car. Effectively, that will be a different car, a new chassis to that car. In fact, have we seen that car out, the number 900 car?
Well, while you're looking at that, John, you were talking earlier about non-respect of Code 60. Now, the first of the main players just got the 45-second stop-and-go penalty for the start of the race. That is the Lion Speed GP car of Carl Tilley, Jake Hill, Patrick Kolb, and late signing Max Hoffa. That is going to hurt. That's going to really sting them big time. And Jake Hill has certainly been setting some good times in that car. He's still getting used to the car, getting used to the circuit, but that's going to really put them on the back foot. Number 18, Lion Speed Porsche.
Well, on that note, about an hour ago, Simon Hill, Jake's dad, who's a long-standing mate of mine, has just sent me unsolicited, because I try and ignore him at race meetings.
He's hard to ignore, in fact.
Exactly, very
I've
well.
known him a very long time.
That's where I was going.
Hello, Si.
So he didn't bother with hey, Snowy, hello, or anything like that. He just came up with purple sector 3, first time ever in the wet, exclamation mark. Jake, first laps a day in the car, now 9:44. First ever laps in the wet, didn't get a lap in this morning. He liked it good and wet.
There you go.
50% of Jake Hill's victories in British touring cars, of which he was champion, a couple of seasons ago, 50% of his victories were in the wet. Look, the lad can drive in the wet. There's
I can expand on that. He does a lot of historic racing where it always feels as though it's wet because you've got no grip, but he's brilliant.
That's a very good point.
And when it is wet in historic cars, it feels like driving on glass.
Yes.
That I can promise you.
Or the grass.
Mirrors. Yeah.
Peter Snowden speaking from bitter experience there. I think the 900 car must have gone out. I actually can't find it, but all 161 cars are listed, and it's not one that's greyed out.
Yeah, well, they did say it was going to come out in this session.
Yeah.
I'm also squinting at my screen. We've got 161 cars that came out, which is one more than we had in first qualifying this afternoon.
The Hoffa Racing GT3 Cup car, the 908, that hasn't come out. We know about the GT car. We haven't seen also the HRT Ford Racing Mustang. That car, in the hands of Chris Meese earlier on today, did an 856, and then certain parts of the fluids became external when they should have been internal.
Liberated, right.
So they've gone back down. They're actually just based at Moispath. So they're doing an engine swap on that car even as we speak. They must have found something else they don't like on that car, because I thought that car would have been back by now.
Yeah, well, of course, if they're running in the SP9 class, their main business is tomorrow for the 3 qualified sessions. Right, I found number 900.
Well done.
It's halfway down the list. It's in 85th position out of 161 runners. And Benja Hites, the driver from Santiago in Chile, is at the wheel of that Black Falcon Cup 2 class car. It's 10th in class, picking up the pace. But like a lot of people, having lost track time, even more so for them than anyone else, they've just got to go and get the drivers running through the cycle.
Yeah, they are 27 seconds slower than they were this morning, which actually
is not bad.
Is very good indeed, or this afternoon, should I say, in the first session. It is still the times from earlier today that are holding sway, but we are beginning to get down into the low 9 minutes. The Rover Racing number 1 car, the BMW, Augusto Farfus now behind the wheel. That's done a 9:19, and there's a couple of other lowish 9 minutes. I saw a 9:25 recently. That was the Grello car. Not sure whether that was Matt Campbell's time in that 9:25, but for a moment it looked like the weather was getting better, and then of course it isn't, because that's the Nürburgring Nordschleife.
Yeah, but what the drivers, you know, you might be standing around for 15 minutes waiting to be the next person into the car, because of course the lap time at the moment, a good lap time, anything good is under 10 minutes, but for the lower class cars, a good lap is under 15 minutes, so you're waiting to be the next one in. You don't know what the conditions are going to be. There might suddenly be a flurry. We just had that one on the start straight, 10 minutes ago, 15 minutes ago as you came in. That has now cleared. So it's a moving stage, but it's about cycling the drivers through. Fastest lap in session is still 9 minutes 19.884 seconds to be precise, but the driver who set that, Kelvin van der Linde, 3-time winner of this event, he's out. Augusto Farfus is in the car, cycling as they go. We've got, an hour and 40 minutes remaining.
Yeah, I mean, I think John nailed it earlier on at the very beginning of our show with this first practice session this afternoon, when he just said changeable for the weather. It's going to be, and that is literally, it's changeable by the hour, by the minute. We've discussed that already.
If we
but
were
the whole
weathermen,
point of this is it's data collection.
Oh yeah,
for the drivers. Those that don't need to, it doesn't matter. It's still data collection. It's different conditions, different drivers. It's track, it's ambient, it's night, it's raining, it's traffic, and don't forget traffic. It's our colleague Joe Bradley often refers to sports car racing as a high-speed game of chess, and it's a great description because it moves, and just when you think you've got an advantage or understand something, it's a movable feast. And those cars that are driving at a certain pace, and you see them so many times, you think you're lapping, you think there's 4 of them in the race because you lap them so frequently, such as the speed differential, they will suddenly find they've got a different disadvantage, or maybe they've got an advantage, so suddenly they want to do different things, and you've got to work out when you come up behind them where they're going to brake and where they're going to turn in, because they've got as much right to be on the track as anybody else, and it is the faster car's responsibility to get around the slower car always. It's just like the road. If you're running somebody from behind, it's your fault.
Oh yeah.
So you have to allow for that, and it's making those split-second decisions at night in the rain on the Nordschleife. Oh God, I do miss it.
You can tell, mate.
It's funny, Joe was saying he never wants to get there. He didn't say never again, but he was saying very happy in the commentary box. But also the point, in an event like this, you've still got drivers coming in who haven't a lot of experience. They might have done NLS racing, they might not have done it in dark. Yeah. So you've got to assess. You go, OK, that's a Cup 3 Porsche Cayman. That should be this sort of pace, but within that class you could have a splay, particularly in the wet, of 20 seconds in terms of lap pace.
Bruce, and don't forget, it's relatively recently that the qualifying weekend has included a later race start.
Absolutely.
So that anybody could get a bit of darkness running. So quite often people would have come here, and still do, particularly this year. It's a bit more old school this year because of the fact we weren't able to finish that race. It is... You know, these are the first laps that people will have done in the dark. And it is, like I said, it's properly dark. This isn't Daytona dark. It's not even Dubai dark, which is pretty dark. It's not even Sebring dark, which is pretty dark on the far side. This is something else. It's like the old Le Mans here, where somebody brilliantly, before the chicanes were put in, so before 1991 was the chicanes?
Le Mans,
Within a year or so.
1990.
Yes.
89, sorry, 89. 1990. 89 was the last year without them.
Really?
Has that clarified it?
Yeah, 89.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Somebody once described to me in that, so 89 was my first year working at Le Mans, and so somebody said it was so dark, it was like being thrown down a mine shaft pointing a torch downwards. That was what the Mulsanne was like, and that's what it's like here.
And the big thing we say all the time, John, is we talk about this, you know, the ring permit you mentioned earlier, that you have to get through this and you qualify. So the drivers aren't just allowed to go out there. You've got to earn this and do that, even the top drivers. But we focus on the top drivers dealing with the slower traffic. What we don't focus on enough is the slower traffic having to deal with the top drivers coming through. Because, trust me, those guys that are out there, they are as dedicated to what they want to do and winning their class as much as they can against teammates and where it's their peer group. And they will be as busy as a busy thing on Sponsor the Busy Week, out there at night in the rain, looking out for, keeping out of other people's way.
Yeah.
But, as I mentioned him earlier in the show, John, the great Jerry Marshall, the UK motorsport legend, he said of drivers, when you're learning to race, when you're a novice, relatively, when you're new to this, yes? He said, if you're not up to speed yet, he said, stay where you are. Do not move.
Correct.
Do not be kind. He said, it is not after you, Claude. He said,
no.
We will get round you. And he said, cars moving to get out of your way because they see you coming up behind fast is the worst possible thing you want as a quick driver.
OK, can I just pose one element? You're a driver, let's say you're in the slowest car in the field.
Which is the Dacia, probably.
Which is,
I wasn't going to go there.
No. But, so you could be, let's be kind, 30 seconds a lap slower, more.
And some. Anyway.
OK. But at one point, you're going on your own, in the dark.
Yeah.
You need to cross. You're going to be on your racing line. You have to cross from the right-hand side of the track to the left. The faster driver's coming through. What you have to be clear to those drivers, they have to just stay where they are, as you pointed out. Because if they suddenly go, I need to go to the right, then the direction the car wants to go is the other way, and you're going to spin.
Yeah.
So the faster driver has to understand what scope they have to put their car where.
And interestingly, and I think Snowy, I hope you'll bear me out on this. Actually, in the dark, it's not as bad as in the daytime because you've got at least the headlights to warn you. It's difficult to say how far it is in some of the smaller cars, and the closing speeds are quicker. But at least you've got some idea of that somebody's coming. In the daytime, it's like riding a motorcycle. You check over your shoulder, you check over your shoulder again, you check over your shoulder again, and then you turn in and you've still got a GT3 car right alongside your door panel because the speed differential, you know, round some of these corners, the GT3 cars have got so much more downforce, so much more even mechanical grip, that they are turning in at speeds that are unimaginable for what is a fairly unmodified Cayman or that Audi S3 we're talking about, the Dupre
driven by human beings,
who are driven by human beings, not aliens.
Not always.
And they are mildly modified road cars, some of those cars out there.
And don't forget also, compared to the days when I was doing this, which was obviously eons ago, the visibility has changed as well because you sit lower, further back in the car. You have different seats now, hands device seats that protect you. You have very little peripheral vision. You have a hands device on, so you have limited movement. So that is even exacerbated at night. But also on the other side of that, which is something else, another thing these drivers have to take on board, another layer of information is GT4, GT3 cars have got to now have cameras on board inside.
Yeah.
So you'll have, it's almost like if you watch Top Gun back from the mid-80s, you get missile lock and it's green, it's red, and it beeps and it goes green.
Yeah.
As the cars get closer to you, they will tell you where they are, so you can see a car behind you.
Get a little arrow.
And it's being filmed.
Yeah.
Almost, you know, the mirrors can be used for shaving. I jest. But there are those cameras. But how good they are at night. Years ago, we used to literally just put layers of tape across the rear window at gaps to break up the headlights coming up. But the point John makes is, you're at night, you see those headlights coming up. Okay, you're aware, but there's always going to be headlights behind you.
Pretty
you
much.
don't know which ones are, have you just passed, or are they coming towards you?
That's a good point. Good evening to our colleagues at First Tickets, Brian Sheehan, who's packing Le Mans 24 tickets and various bits and pieces to the thousands that will be making that pilgrimage to another 24-hour race in, a month or so's time, really, now. That's all we're talking about, middle of June, as ever. Brian, our travel partner at Radio Show Limited. Thanks for all the help again, Brian, to get down here with the team. And also, great thanks to Ford UK and Genesis UK as well. This is the first time that I've done a WEC and Nürburgring with 0 emissions. Well, I say I mean the car I'm driving in, clearly.
Well, I think that was worth clarifying.
Yes,
I'm glad we
with the
moved on from that
sauerkraut,
quickly
got to
anyway.
say.
Yes.
And the
Open
Wurst.
that window, Jones.
Yes, absolutely. So thank you for that. Hello to Dave Alcock. Wasn't there an N24 a few years ago where we had heavy hail that was so bad cars couldn't climb the incline and got stuck on the track? Yes, that's right. I think about the only car that got through it was Darren Turner. It is heavy, heavy rain on the far side of the circuit. One of the GT3 Cup cars, which is a Cayman, just coming into the end of the lap now.
Yes, that alternative fuel one.
632.
632. Steve Brown. We saw it going from the pits. Remember, you were commenting it refuels elsewhere. I just want to pick out a point. When I just was trying to do some maths, I think my maths abilities got out the window this evening. I said, the fastest car to the slowest should be about 30 seconds. Thought it was more, couldn't think what it should be. It's 3 minutes 53 seconds.
Yeah, there you go.
To the VW Sirocco 477 as best racing. Well, that's in the VT2 class, VT2 front-wheel drive, but nobody is going to be picking up the pace at all, because certainly the last third of the lap, it's very wet indeed. You can hear it jumping onto the track, off the track cameras.
Lance David Arnold's just been talking down in the pit lane. He's out of the HWA, one of the HWA Evo R's, those throwback retro styling cars, very much up to date underneath the skin, the 61 car. He said it's very special when you go out for night training. Don't always have the opportunity to ride in the dark age. It's the point we were making. We like to check the lights are properly adjusted and what the conditions are like outside. Then you come in to find no standing water, and there were even a few dry patches. I really enjoyed riding in the rain at night, but you have to build up the confidence first. And by the way, the lighting on those HWA Evos, they are so cool, the triple lights. In the front, the Dacia's in the pit lane, getting a new set of tyres. The Durr Motorsport number 69 McLaren. They've got 2 McLarens here, 2 different McLarens. That's the Bitburger car, and that's very much a local sponsorship. Bitburger and Bitburg, Bitter ein Bit is what they say around here, and that's what, not half an hour, 40 minutes from where we're sitting now, Bruce.
And a third of their annual consumption is going to be around the edge of the circuit this weekend. Did you know that?
Probably, yes.
Mostly a Hatzenbach, I suspect. Yeah. It's funny how certain sponsors stick in your mind, don't they? That car,
Bitter ein Bit. I mean, that's from
Schumacher
1980s.
Benetton. That's what I always said, mid-90s. For me, that's
okay, but I was aware of it even before then, you know, because I'm so old.
Because you're much older than me now.
Yes, indeed.
Yes, but only by a few months. I tried, but I can't carry that one off, and it's not fair to you, Bruce.
No, indeed. Anyhow, it works. We remembered it. Shake and vac. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Simon Tibbett. Hello, Simon. Thank you for dropping us a line at RSL_studio using the hashtag RSLN24. He says, this is the place where you have to have that respect. It absolutely is required. If you are that slow car and a faster car knows you're online, they will adjust.
Absolutely.
Use your indicators as well. You indicate the way that you're going, not where you want the car to go. So if you are going to move over to the left, you indicate left.
Well, and move to the road. Indicate your intention.
Indicate your intention, absolutely. Don't try and show someone the way to go.
Well, thank goodness no one's entered in a Ford Edsel, because that disaster for Ford in the 1950s, because if you indicated the left, the right-hand indicator came on and vice versa. It was sort of pointing across the car. Just imagine how confusing that would be. Anyhow, we move on.
Can you imagine if they'd had... Which of the Vauxhalls were it when they changed the indicator mechanism? It was a Vectra. And instead of just clicking up to go right and down to go left, and then putting it back in the middle to stop it, you clicked up to go to indicate right. And then to stop it, you had to click up again. But of course, nobody knew that, so you pulled it down. How do I cancel? Oh, now I'm indicating left. No, hang on. No, now I'm indicating. And for such a long time, when they first came out, you were following the road with people's indicators going from one side.
They must have been sponsored by warranty claims and insurance companies.
Another of those.
Reinvent the wheel.
Yeah, another idea that was never copied. Yeah, right, really heavy rain in the pit lane now. It's suddenly, in the last 2 or 3 minutes, it approached this part of the track. Again, it's one of the 2 highest points on the circuit. The other being, the highest point is Her Acht. And in fact, we had some fantastic shots, John and Snowy, before you came into the booth. The higher points on the circuit with the clouds hanging below the trees that were below those points of the circuit. Yeah. So when it comes tomorrow, some of the lower parts of the circuit have an awful lot of missed their way. In
the pit lane, the Mühlner Motorsports H&R sponsored number 123 Porsche. That is a GT3 R992 Evo 26, so that's a brand new car. That's the Martin Rum, Ben Benagel and Alex Brundle car. Alex added to that car, I mean, like 24 hours ago or something.
It was just before we left home, and I left home on this week, Wednesday afternoon.
Okay. Yeah.
No, it came in, and then they didn't release an updated list until the last 24 hours.
Alex was going to do the pit walk with me for Midweek Motorsport on Wednesday, and quite late he said, I can't do that, and now we know why, so I'm not holding it against you, Alex. I have to say that Alex, a class winner here for Aston Martin with Jamie Chadwick and Peter Kate.
Alex has done a lot of races here because he's done one with Martin in the past, if not more. But, you know, for him, this is the big stage. This is SP9, and it was a car that, you know, it's interesting that you get a car so late on that's running in the top class, only 2 drivers down. But, you know, when people look at those gaps, they go, right, what can we do to make it happen? And because also Alex has raced quite a lot with Mühlner Motorsport over the years in other categories. You know, he's an obvious fit. You want someone you know, you trust. And right now, he'll be going, why did I jump at it? Look at the rain. It's torrential.
Matt Campbell's Manthey 911 is the engine that you can hear behind us at the moment, and he's heading up towards the top of the hill at, where is that? I thought he was going up towards the Schwedenkreuz area, but I'm not entirely sure now. If he turns right in a moment or two into the Vauxhall, I was right. If not, I've got no clue where he is.
I think
it's so dark.
No, Schwedenkreuz.
Yeah.
Really?
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah. But it feels like it because it's one of the few points on the circuit with no tents, no campsites around there.
Lovely little twitch there.
That was in a straight line. You heard the engine rev up there for Matt Campbell, the flat 6, 4.nearly 2 litre.
Listen how low the revs are. He's using the torque there. The TC's turned right up, probably at this point, as is the ABS, as much as those drivers like to do it. But listen how low the revs are.
Well, that's how long it's taken him to get to the top of the Vauxhall.
And listen to the
That's why I wasn't recognising it, because he was going so slowly. Good heavens! Now coming down the Vauxhall, Fuchsrue.
Slight front end twitch there. It's if you're at the absolute edge of aquaplaning there.
Right, we said that a lot of teams need to rotate their drivers through all of this. I think for a moment they might just back them off a little bit, because this is potential disaster.
I'm on the radio now saying, come in. Get back to the pits and come in.
That's exactly what he's doing, but he's trying to do it really carefully. But
he's on wet. He's obviously on wet tyres.
The rain is bouncing off the track now. It's you know, when did it start raining up here? Not even 10 minutes ago.
So your biggest danger now is standing water all of a sudden.
Correct. And he's going slowly, so he's not getting the benefit of any downforce. This is pure mechanical grip. This is relying... Good heavens, he's come out of Adnar Force and climbing up again here, but the standing water, the puddles, there's a lot of resurfacing that's gone on here that has smoothed out. I heard you guys talking about it earlier, Bruce, that has smoothed out various areas. It's not necessarily any more grippy, and it's still quite new tarmac, and you can just see a little more reflection on the track. This is the sort of weather that when I'm out on my motorbike, I park the bike up and stop, because this is awful weather for motorbikes. So now starting to come down the hill again.
Yeah,
Normally
down to Versiphon.
Yeah. All the way down the hill to Versiphon. So 3 right-handers here, and he's ticking over. He's literally surviving this at the moment. Earlier on, Peter, when it was drier but cold, and Kevin Estra was out there doing his thing, which he does very, very well, even then you could see him struggling with the front end of the car. Generally speaking, you'll get, in a rear-wheel drive SP9 car, you'll get heat into the rear tyres of whatever manufacturer that is, but the fronts will cool down the quickest because there are some quite long straight stretches here, and you can't keep the heat in them.
And one of the biggest problems with the mentality of a racing driver is they've never been taught to drive slowly. So this is absolute torture for him, because he doesn't want to do it. And the problem is that you'll do it and you'll think, I'll be sensible, I'll talk to the team, I'll do that, so and so, and then all of a sudden you'll just want to put a few more revs on, and it will just spin up, or it will lose and you've suddenly swapped ends, and then you've got to explain to everybody. And
Okay.
it is one of the most difficult things to do in a car.
100%. So what we've just had is how many cars in the top 20 are in the pits? All of them bar 3. So one of them is Matt Campbell, whose car is currently 5th on the list. The number 3 Mercedes, Danny Juncadella was in it. He just got out, and then put Max Verstappen in it, who's just got out. I thought even Max, who needs to gain experience of how wet can be, they've decided no.
Well, frankly, it's got to be wetter than an Otter's pocket if Max Verstappen gets out of a car.
Well, but you don't risk it. By the way, thanks to Johannes, you mentioned the Bitburger livery and what it made you think of. Then it's done its job, because it's a that car, that McLaren, is a tribute livery to the Michael Schumacher Benetton.
There you go.
So,
I didn't know that, so there you go.
It's blue and yellow. Just check the underside. That's all I'm saying. Just check. You know, check the takeoff.
Yeah.
Roxy,
has it got launch control as well?
Oh, I was trying not to go there. I'm trying to set you up.
Roxy says, I did some laps of the ring in my BMW M2 last year in the wet, and it was terrifying even at slow speeds. I can't imagine doing the speeds the SP9 class are doing in the wet, in the dark. Incredible. And that is the other thing about this place. 2 things that has made this place legendary. One is undoubtedly Gran Turismo, from the very start of Gran Turismo. More latterly, the other simulations like Assetto Corsa and iRacing, of course, have scanned the track as well on a number of occasions. The other is that you can come here, and on the tourist driving days, tourist foreign days, you can come out and do the Nordschleife, not necessarily down the bit of the Grand Prix circuit that we're using this weekend, but come off Tiergarten, turn right, and go down to the Sabine Schmidt's curve and do it yourself. By the way, it would have been Sabine Schmidt's 57th birthday today. Much missed, as ever. Every time I come here, I can't help but thinking about Sabine's smile and her good humour. Worked with her a few times, and never knowingly underpartied or underprepared was Sabina. She was brilliant.
We were having a little look back. We're talking about how teams almost all have 4 drivers now.
Yeah.
She was one of the last people to win in a 3-driver lineup, and that's 1997.
7 or 6, was it?
Yeah, she had 4. She had 4 drivers in the car in 97. 96, when she won it the previous year, was Sabine Reck, of course. That was her maiden name. 3-driver lineup. Before that, less rare, and in the very early years, 2-driver lineups. I
heard you talking about that. Yeah. I can't even begin to imagine 2 drivers in a touring car round here.
No.
That, to me, Peter, that's just insane.
That's the days they did it. You think about when it started in 1970. That's how it was, wasn't it? I mean, Niki Lauda won it in 1973. Was it the first 4 years were all BMW wins?
Yep. Porsche, 3 Porsches, 2 Fords, 3 Fords, 4 Fords in a row, and then it went back to BMW again.
If I'm right, it's wasn't it a 2002 that won it first time out?
Yep.
Yeah,
I mean, that's second time. Then he went
that's tiny. That's in the historic races now. That's a tiny little car to run around here for 24 hours. Nothing like these monsters we have now. But that's evolution. That's 54 years of progress.
There are very few people out on the circuit. Matt Campbell still working his way back. Alexander Sims in the Scherer Sport Audi R8, the number 16 car. We've got the Hankook Porsche, number 30.
Probably about 40
there.
40 cars all in, and
Just
that number is dwindling with every lap.
Sorry, Bruce, just a matter of interest, John, Bruce, both of you. We were talking about the 911 Porsche. Who's at the wheel of that at the moment? It was
Matt Campbell.
Matt Campbell. He is still making his way back.
Yeah,
He's
that's what I said.
just come through.
I think he stopped for a barbecue,
on the
actually.
Dottinger Her. He's bringing that car. Because the point is, this session now, this is why we're saying so many cars in the garage now. Frankly, when it's this heavy with rain at this point of the weekend, I know it's not much fun for us or spectators, but there is not a lot of point in circulating.
You're not learning anything.
There's more
at this
to be
point.
lost than there is to be gained.
What was it?
In the blink of an eye.
A very good friend of mine who used to work for, when it was Pratt and Miller, rather than just Pratt Miller as it is now, always said, we don't need any more practice on how to fix things, except he didn't say things. He used a slightly more colourful words.
Stuff.
Yes, nearly. And, you know, fair point, well made. And Ron Fellows, also of Corvette Pratt & Miller, always used to say to me, in endurance races in particular, having a bit of patience and taking your time to do something, whether it's get back to the pits here, whether it's wait one corner or two corners to make the overtake. Okay, that might lose you 5 seconds on a normal racetrack. Round here, it might lose you 2 minutes. And he always used to point at his pit crew and say, those guys are the best in the business. There's not much that they can fix in 2 minutes. If you've broken it.
Yeah, there's an old adage I was taught when I first started doing this malarkey, and I'm sure many more before and many after were told exactly the same thing, and it still rings true no matter half a century on. Sports car racing, endurance racing is all about stay out of the pits, stay out of trouble.
Yeah. But by the way, the engineer that I was talking about was none other than Dan Binks, and his son has moved into the family business, I guess you could call it now. I reckon there's, in the top 30, there's only 4 or 5 cars still out there. The Durham Motorsport McLaren is still out there. But let's talk about the last lap that the Hankook competition car did. So they've come past. So the Hankook competition number 30 car, which at the moment, which is the Porsche, which has got
Jong Young Kim.
Yeah, Jong Young Kim behind the wheel, Korean driver. That last time was a 17 minute and 14 seconds.
God, that's my time in the dry.
17 minutes.
Yeah.
And that is because he has literally been bringing that car home at the absolute most careful he can do.
Right, wind it forward from Thursday night to Saturday night. If it's like this, they're not in the pits. They're going to have to just be out there doing their business. Now, one thing this provides an opportunity to see all the cars in the garages, and your eyes are not deceiving you. The garages have to be incredibly organised because you can have 2 by 2, you can have 3 rows, you can have 6 cars in the garage. It takes quite an orchestrating, and there's a sort of sod's law dictates if your car is pushed to the back of the garage for repairs, another car in your garage will be put in front of it for their repairs. Other garages will be empty.
Yeah.
It's really tricky, but it's always been a feature of this
Very
race.
definition of teamwork.
Yeah,
well,
exactly.
and you've only got one pump. There's only one fuel pump for that garage. So there could be 6 of you sharing a pump. In the old days, it was 1 pump between 2 beers. They've updated it since then. Oh, we've got another one of the fancied cars who's going to... We're going to have a really busy pit lane at the end of the first racing lap on Saturday because the latest car to be pinged for being over the speed limit and therefore taking a 30-second stop and hold at the start of the race is the number 55 Dynamic GT car. Now, this has got Luke Hartog, Joel Sturm, Alessandro Giaretti and Michele Beretta. Those are all Porsche Junior or Porsche blessed drivers in that car. And the other one that I've just noticed, which is even more interesting.
Number 18, I think. Yeah, I put that up a while ago, actually.
The Lion Speed car.
Kill car, yeah.
Now, who was in the car?
Well, you can't tell because the trouble is that was issued 21:44, so just over half an hour ago. But it's not going to be an instant penalty, is it?
But it's 2 penalty points on the licence as well. There's been a few now where we've seen some down in the classes as well.
You were saying, John, earlier about those penalties for speeding under the code 60 and whatever, and I nearly added, if you didn't mind at the time, of what they're doing there is, that's a warning.
Of course it is.
That's literally a warning of, we're watching, you've got away with it, because it's not too much of an overspeed. However, you know, we are watching.
Well, and let's remind ourselves, in NLS races and indeed in the 24-hour race, we have seen drivers being called back to the pits and told to get out of their car, hand over their permit, which is then shredded into tiny little pieces, and they've got to start the permit process all over again. Now, if you've got 4 drivers in the car and you go down to 3, then you can probably continue. If you've got 3 and you go down to 2, you can't. And we had that exact thing happen in one of the 4-hour races in the early part of the season. I'm still trying to see whether the 67 still hasn't. The HRT Ford Racing Mustang, sorry, must not start with the number, still has not got back to the pits from the HRT Ford Racing base, which is just up the road at Mice Path. And if you are just joining us, other cars you will not, another car that you'll not see for the rest of this weekend is the GT Racing number 146 Porsche. That was involved in an incident earlier on today, not of their making, but that car's been withdrawn. And that was an incident with the number 900 Black Falcon Porsche, which has been, effectively the car's been replaced. It's still wearing the 900, but it is not the car that it was this morning. BMW with the M3 Touring, and that effectively is the M4 GT3 running gear with a body that's, I mean, there's hardly a panel on that car that is the same, and it's the Touring, it's the estate car body, which does actually give you a slight aerodynamic advantage, I've been told. Yeah. And they've got a honking great wing on the back of it as well, because it's in SPX.
Yes, it's sort of imaginary formula, but remember, we have had estate cars going very well in touring car race with the Volvo 850 quite a while ago now.
The Subaru won the British Touring Car Championship as an estate car. I'm still going back to the Peugeot 806 Super Touring, which was the one-box MPV, which had the Super Touring, so it would have been the 406 underpinnings, maybe, of the Super Tourer. And with the boxy body on, it did the Spa 24. And it was up for sale 2 or 3 years ago, maybe a little bit more than that now. I remember talking about it here. About how much fun this race would be. They would find a class for that in this race.
Yeah, I mean, it's always been a nature of something they do, and Creventic, famous also for creating classes, so people can go racing as well in the 24H series. But this really is such a melting pot, and I love some of the liveries. Just a short while ago, looking at a car that could only come from Texas in terms of its livery. It's running an SP10. It's a BMW M4 GT4, draped like the tricolour flag of Texas. Judson Holt, Dave Ogburn, Denny Stripling and Charles Russell Turner out waving the stars and stripes this weekend, but more than that, waving the flag for Texas. Great to have them on board.
Just getting some news in, actually. Matt Campbell was out there competing his mandatory laps. However, hearing from Porsche that the Australian right now is only a reserve driver.
Well, it was a very late entry.
Yeah. So if everything stays the same, he will not drive in the race.
Okay.
So he's there, but he still has to complete his mandatory laps. Of course, that's the thing. The Falcon Porsche number 44 is the one that has completed the most laps. They've done 18 at the moment. And here's a great quote from Patrick Niederhauser in the Lamborghini Huracan, the number 84, the Red Bull Racing car. He said, in the heavy rain, we actually were out on intermediate tyres, which worked relatively well for most of the track. But when I arrived at Schwedenkreuz, I was doing 40 kilometres an hour and still aquaplaning. That was a bit hairy for a moment, says Patrick. master of understatement. But generally, I'm happy with the car in the rain. We weren't quite as competitive as we would have liked, but otherwise, we're on the right track and well prepared. Master of understatement.
I just love the idea of this torrential rain and going out on intermediates. What could possibly go wrong?
You test them.
Different.
Exactly, yes.
What do we think then? Where's the crossover
You've got the
point?
short straw on that one.
Well, you go and find out. Dear me.
It's scary enough in the dry in the daylight.
Just being joined by one of our colleagues, Carla Velti, who is working for Nitro this weekend. The live stream. Oh, the German live stream. Okay. All right. So you can switch over and listen to Carla. I thought I heard your voice on the PA earlier on, so I did hear your voice on the PA earlier on. Rather confused me for a moment.
They asked me, but my German was too rusty. So rustic, yeah?
I'm sure that is not right.
It is.
We've got cars going out.
Close enough. It's Austrian anyway.
We got cars going out the pit lane, including one of the BMW Z4s I've just seen going out. The Rover Racing BMW with Augusto Farfus at the wheel has gone out. The Gregorian RT car collection Porsche, the number 4 car, in 17th position, has gone out. That's Alex Fontana, the Swiss driver, or the Swiss licensed driver, has gone out. They might just be going round, because my late mother-in-law was Swiss. I am now contractually obliged to say Hop Suisse.
He's also half Greek, and I was brought up in Greece, so I'll say Yasu.
Yasu. Well, in this weather, it's Yasu Nafti, isn't it? Hello, sailor.
Indeed.
Because it's absolutely... You could be wakeboarding out there.
Right, I know it's wet, but how do we get to hello sailor in 2 sentences?
Well, there you go.
Don't ask.
I know it's late. I know it's that kind of show.
They might be going around the Grand Prix track and back in at the moment, just to either scrub in some tyres or try something. Matt Campbell and Grello fans, big anniversary for Grello and for Manthey this weekend. And they had all of the cars out.
Yeah, and they're all in the fan zone.
Yeah, it looks great.
On the start-finish straight. Very corporate there now. I nipped over just in case I could find some books that needed buying.
No.
Don't really buy books now. There, you can buy your manufacturer's jacket.
All right.
Very expensive model cars. A lot going on. Huge queues, particularly to go and see the Grello combination.
Well, Matt Campbell, you can breathe a sigh of relief because he has got to the end of the lap and brought the car back like the world's most expensive hire car, and you didn't have the collision damage waiver on it, so he brought it back exactly the way he took it out. Team will be happy with that. I just want to say hello to our friend Peter Kate as well, who I think was out a little bit earlier on. I saw his name on the timing screen, driving with Czerny Racing again, and also following the progress of one of the BMW teams this weekend. I'll give you more details about that later on. Made the acquaintance of a brand new driver here this year. He's gone from Ford Fiesta Cup in Ireland to here in one swell foop.
Mondeno Park, Nürburgring.
Exactly so.
And
BMW M2
just
driver.
Get on with it.
Yeah, absolutely. And wants to get to Le Mans within the next 5 or 6 years.
And the name of that driver?
I am.
Are you looking for it? I have seen an Irish driver in the mix.
I'm looking for the team car first, so I can get his teammates as well.
Okay, it is getting a little bit busier as people are driving out. Mark Bassett got how many decades of experience he got, so he's a really good guy to have in the Hyundai Elantra from Hyundai Motorsport. But right now, people have I think the rain has eased a little bit, but also the pressure to get all the drivers through in their night laps and wet laps as well.
Did Bassing just have a spin? I just saw.
He did appear to have the spin. As we went away from his car, he was looking at a part of the circuit with his headlights that I don't think he really wanted to do.
Well, it was the curve that was kaleidoscopic to me. This came round and goes, hang on, there's somebody supposed to do that.
Yeah.
Supposed to appear and then disappear. It did supposed to stay in vision.
Now, one of the things that drivers always need to do in night time, you mentioned this earlier, Snowy, is adjust their headlights and make sure they're working. And again, you see teams putting up great big white boards in front of the drivers just to help hone them in.
Yeah, well, they'll have settings and markings on that, and it's all been sort of calibrated and data stuff on it there. And that's one of the things that I've said this before, that from the days when I first started doing this, we talked about this 54 years ago, we're talking about 2 drivers in a car. And, okay, they were touring cars, the cars were relatively slower, but it was still driving around here, and the safety was a lot different than the cars as well.
The headlights were so much worse.
But the headlights, we talk about tyre technology, suspension technology, isn't it? Headlight technology and tail light has evolved so much now. In the early days, literally, I joke, when I was racing, it was a couple of wet candles, and if one went out, you carried on, but that was it. I mean, I remember doing a race at Spa in a Group C car, and we were running second, and the reason we were black flagged was unknown to us. The multi-block, which was probably a 3-pin plug and something like Mains, something from the local DIY store, had rattled loose, so the tail lights had gone out, and quite rightly they stopped us because you couldn't see the car. We could see from the front because we've got headlights, but that kind of thing just doesn't really happen these days.
Not so much.
That's one of the biggest things of these cars, is there's so much reliability now. Yeah, everything's just so much better. And we were saying this the other day, weren't we, about road cars. Nobody makes a bad car these days. The last 10, 20 years, nobody does. All the jokes we had about various brands have gone because nobody makes a bad car. And everything's reliable. In our youth, we saw old bangers on the road. Different coloured door panels and bits and things to come off a breaker's yard.
That was just a VW Harlequin. That was meant to be.
Oh, yes,
there was that, wasn't there? There was that one, yes. Yes, we started with the Beetle, didn't it? As originally they did that, I think.
As my father once said, and remember, he was a police officer for all of his working life when I was alive. Well, it's not pretty, but it will confuse the witnesses.
It's indeed.
It's
going to attract attention as well.
Look it up, kids, if you don't believe me. It was literally a VW Polo that had every door, every panel on the car was a genuine VW colour, but was just different.
Yes.
Yeah.
But here we are, what, 30 odd years later talking about it. So it's, again, Bitburger, as we call it now. That effect, it has that effect, doesn't it? So I think the Grello was looking to a driver change. Matt Campbell tippy-toed that in, and I do think they were looking to do a driver change, and then obviously the number board won't update until it goes out, and I can't think what the system's called now on the top of the screen.
What's that?
Ticker tape?
No, on the screen, the system that changes the number and the class and the driver name letters. There's a... Trust always reminds me what it's called. I'll look it up.
I know exactly.
There's a system for it.
Lumirang.
Lumirang. Thank you. Yes.
God, pulled that one out of nowhere.
Yeah. God,
there goes good old mental Rolodex.
I did that deliberately. He actually fell for it. We knew he knew.
Yeah.
He knew we knew. But we wanted it, and he just rose to the challenge. You say it's like Max Verstappen, isn't it?
Your wish
rises to the challenge.
Is their command. Yeah. We wanted to know who's going out to the Mante car. We still can't tell you, but we know it's about to go out. Just waiting for 9/11.
It's a well-oiled team.
It is. So it could be Thomas Preining, Chan Guvin or Kevin Estre. By my reckoning, it's not Thomas Preining.
I think it'd be Chan.
Chan or Kevin, but I think Chan. I don't think he's done his run in the dark.
I think the camera was giving quite a clue there with Chan Guvin zooming in on the roof, wasn't he?
Yeah,
was
but...
that no,
it was person 387.
Preining, yes. Preining, sorry.
He's not the only Turkish driver in the race.
No, there's a car full of Turkish drivers.
Yeah.
Now, that car, that Lumirang we were discussing, it's in the top right of the screen. It's got 005, which is its position in class as it came in, and it says CAM Campbell. So that still, even though the driver's changed, of course, that won't be triggered until the car leaves the pit exit, and the new one will come in.
Indeed so. Right, so we have reached 10:30, which is my time to go home. You've got another hour. I don't know how many cars you're going to get on track.
Back to Dorset. Okay,
yeah, all the way back to Dorset.
Nice working with you, Bruce.
Yeah, lovely. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of the time. But
don't forget your Eccles cake.
Well, never leave an Eccles cakes at home. Right, for a lot of drivers, they can wait no longer. The rain is not bucketing down in the pit lane anymore. It's still raining a little bit, but this final hour is about getting people through their night laps. But maybe a bit like with Matt Campbell, they're going to have to tiptoe around and go, that's the lap, I'm back in the garages. But all is set. And for all the top cars, of course, John, tomorrow we get to top qualifying, and then that is a whole other matter.
Yeah, we'll talk about that before the end of this session, actually, just to set you up for tomorrow. Thanks, Bruce. Thanks also to Johnny Palmer and to Joe Bradley, who'll be taking their leave now. And thank you very much to Recalibrating Motorsport as well, without whom I would have frozen earlier on. Aidan is driving for them in his first Nürburgring 24 hours. And along with his dad, Declan, two lovely people that I met through a mutual friend in motorsport this weekend, and just had the best time talking to them. And I've been sporting one of their sweatshirts, which is I came desperately underclothed for this.
Please, it's a family show.
I had lots of clothes, but just none of them very suitable.
Oh, I see, right.
Yeah. I think I only have one long sleeve.
Well done.
I have one long sleeved shirt. The rest is one sleeve top. The rest is t-shirt. And I didn't bring an outside jacket.
And in time-honoured tradition, just before joining a broadcast, Johnny Palmer disappeared under the desk.
Yeah.
He does this every time. It is a reason to plug in his laptop and his miracle machines that he does. But it is always slightly alarming that he squirrels away under the desk. Hello, Johnny.
He's off now.
I know you can't reply right now, but
he's off. He'll get you back tomorrow. No improvements in times, but a few more cars, even at the top of the field, have gone out. Max Verstappen did take the Windward Mercedes out, so they have unleashed him onto the Nordschleife as well. That's his AMG engine that you can hear. And he's just going up towards Flugplatz at the moment. Flugplatz named not because the cars get off the ground, that's a misnomer. It is named because at the top of the hill on driver's left, there used to be an airport, a Flugplatz. And back in the day, the early days of this place, in the late 1920s and through into the 30s, people would fly up here.
And there's a code 60 at that point for
yes,
the 651 car, which is the Adrenaline Motorsport Team Manhattan Wheels BMW M240i, which is currently stationary, according to...
Oh, it's in the wall. On driver's right.
GPS Auger is telling me that it's kind of in the middle of the track, so that's probably fairly accurate. They'd like it to hit the wall and bounce back a bit. So
now there's one of the BMW class cars, and now Max Verstappen has been unleashed. The conditions are clearing up considerably to what they were a few minutes ago, when Matt Campbell could barely get into third gear around the top of the foxhole, which is where the number 3 AMG is now. Down through the foxhole, nothing ahead, but still a little bit of mist in the air being lit up, and the flare back, the reflection of the tremendously efficient headlights, nowhere near full throttle there. Sensibly can't use the curbs now around this part of the circuit that Max is at now, through Adenauer Forest, so all the way down to first gear. It's quite a slow corner, the left-hander there, before the right that opens out, and normally you might be up on the block paving there, climbing up to the double left at Metzgerfeld, and it is still tippy toes out there. But this is good practice. This might be the first nighttime lap, actually, that the 4-time world champion has had around the Nürburgring Nordschleife. Come down through Kallenhard now, the downhill right-hander, almost a hairpin. In the dry, it would be a short shift through the left-right chicane. Traffic ahead now.
He did use 2 gears there when he needed one.
Yeah.
As in, that V8, what's it known for? Lots of torque, lots of low-end grunt and torque. So adapting to it, using it straight away. So he popped up 2 gears very quickly there. But
down the hill.
As you say, John, the first representative lap. Just happens it's set by Verstappen, but when he completes the lap. But it could be our first representative lap from the SP9 category in the full rain at night.
Yeah.
So it'll be a good marker for us.
I mean, you couldn't have done this 10 minutes ago, 15 minutes ago, because there just wasn't the grip out there. So this is a good time to send Max out to get some real feel for the circuits. See what you can see. Wheel spin as he comes up out of the bridge up towards the left-hander that is often called the louder left or louder links. And then up to a very important right-hander, actually, because you take it as a late turn in, and Max is sort of half on, half off the full racing line there, feeling for grip. But it's all uphill here to the bottom. In fact, really, actually, to the Caracciolo carousel. 3 left-handers here. They get progressively tighter. In the dry, they're all flat. The last one is the important one to get right, because that one tightens and you have absolutely no runoff on the right-hand side.
Well, the Dottinger-Ho is probably the fastest part of the circuit, but you have the advantage of being super wide down there and lots of visibility. Whereas here at Kesselchen and Klosterdal, it's equally
up to
mighty fast. But there is absolutely no runoff. At some points on the right-hand side, we can just see there's less than a car's width.
Correct. Can't hit the curb on the left through the Moot curve, up over the brow, stay away from the curb.
On the right, more importantly.
I was about to say, stay away from that curb on the right as well, because it's more like a brick wall. And now position the car.
What's a magnet? It's a magnet to the barrier.
Yeah. And over the top of a tricky little rise, actually, with the left and then the right.
Steady through there, John.
Has to be. Has to be.
Look at that. He's barely on the throttle.
Now coming up the hill towards the Caracciolo carousel. Let's see if he drops into the concrete or stays on the top.
Here the brakes good and they're still cold.
Yeah.
They're still cold, those
That's
brakes.
a very good point. No brake temperature, very little tyre temperature. Now, uphill from here. Just a dab of throttle and then off again, because he's got no heat in the front tyres here. None at all. So I think this is his first lap in reality in the dark. He's done tens, hundreds, thousands perhaps laps in virtual reality, but what he's feeling here is the rise and the fall.
Over the brow, very carefully.
That's normally off the ground.
It's the highest part of the circuit.
That's normally all 4 off there, isn't it?
Yeah, well,
before the right-hander.
It's throttle off this time through there.
Now you slightly drop down. You can use the curb on the right, which Max does even in those conditions. You come into Wipperman, stay hard to the right here, because you've got to balance the car, and it's really hard. If you get offline here and miss the apex on the left-hander coming down into Brunchen, then you're just going to understeer off to the right-hand side, because the camber of the road doesn't hold you through. Brunchen, sometimes called YouTube corner. So many people gather there, and there's massive campers there. You can run up onto the block paving on the left-hand side if you need to.
Well, it drops over a brow and an adverse camber, so the people go in there, as ever, on the tourist laps way too fast and spend a load of money on the small print they didn't read about repairing the barriers. They didn't mind repairing their car.
Yeah. Now the run towards Flansgarden and the Beloff S's, this is extremely quick in the dry and so precise. You're threading the eye of a needle here. One of my favourite parts of the circuit, actually, even in a road car. A little bit of a wiggle there and almost onto the grass for the AMG. Now, just over the top of the right-hand rise that Max is at now. Again, you can use the block paving on the left just to straighten this section out. You're falling down the hill quite rapidly and you pick up speed quickly. Then there's a right-hander at the bottom of the hill that sort of tightens. It's over one of the many bridges that there are here. And then a tricky left at the Swallow's Tail and into the mini carousel, Kleiner carousel, drop right in the bottom of that. And even now, there are challenges, because you climb quite steeply, actually, into Gallows Hill, and it's a triple apex right-hander. You don't have to hit the middle apex, but you want to hit the last one, again, in dry conditions, not right now, because you want to get on the power early. Dodiger Hurt, over a mile long, nearly 2 kilometres.
Now, this is potentially the most dangerous part of the circuit, because you can't afford to be tippy-toe here. You can't do low revs. You've got to get some pace on, and that's where you're going to pick up your skirts and go. And you're now going to potentially get into aquaplaning, and that you've got to be so careful coming through the King.
Only just went into top gear at the exit for the tourist laps, coming into Antonius Bucher, the little left-hander under the Bilstein Bridge, and that was a lift and a down change there. Now that, in the dry, in a road car, is flat out. You just look through the corner.
Doing 240k down there at the moment.
So he's not hanging about, but that looked pedestrian through there. Really early on the brakes into the Tiergarten. It's so tricky. And again, squeaky brakes. As Peter Snow...
Yeah, down to 120k for Tiergarten.
Yeah, yeah. Onto the start-finish straight. And that car's best lap tonight is a 9:34. That was 1 hour, 8 minutes and 5 seconds. 68 minutes and 5 seconds. That's because that was an outlap, and tells you how long that car had been in the pits. Now, we've got a steaming, what? Is that a Cupra in the pit lane? Yes, it is.
Yeah, 808.
Well, it's in a state, I know that. Sorry, if you're a dance music fan, you'll get that one.
Has got a dry ice vibe about it.
That's absolutely. Ibiza, here we come. Oh no, it's a Cupra, not an Ibiza. I'll get all of these out the way right now. So that car being pushed into the back of the garage. 808 is, in fact, so one of the. Is that a TCR class car, or it's the Asbest car? Is it? Yes, it is, and it is the TCR car. That's the Japanese, Korean, Polish, and Chinese, or at least Hong Kong Chinese drivers, and that is in SP3T. Now, the reason you put your TCR in SP3T rather than TCR is because you want to have a different tyre. The top classes here are open tyre, but some of the classes are mandated a particular tyre. Actually, you know what? Before things hot up, let's have a quick shufty at the class leaders. And I'll do it as Joe did in reverse order. SP3 is the BMW number 277 in 157th position. The BMW 325 CI category is the 152 car that leads its class in 159th position. We then go to, scrolling down, the BMW 325i class leader, the number 100. That's in 126th position. And Toyota Gazoo rookie GR Yaris leads the SP2T, the 109 car leading its class. The V5 category is a Cayman, the number 440, no team name there. And SP3T is Max Kreuzer Racing in the GTI Club Sport 24. I watched some onboard of that earlier on. That car was quick, but that, I'm going to have to check that. I think that might be, with being the Club Sport, is that an all-wheel drive car, Peter, the GTI Club Sport 24?
I didn't think we had any all-wheel drive cars in this event.
Other than the Audi Quattro. The S3.
The Audi Quattro.
Yeah, the Dupree car. Anyway, that car is the Max Kreuzer Racing car, the SP3T. It's in 115th place, leads its class, and that's the number 10 car. Next class leader, as I'm coming up, is the VT2 Hecker, which means rear drive car, and that's the Ravenol Japan Toyota GR Supra, number 519. The BMW class, which is the M2 Racing, the G87 cars, that's the Valkenhorst Racing, number 898. Next is the Dupree Motorsport Audi 3 S3 Limousine, because it is the 4-door and not the 5-door hatchback, so the saloon, if you will. It's a Dupree Motorsport car, VT2 front-wheel drive, the number 480 in 99th position. Then it is the Adrenaline Motorsport BMW 240i class leader, the 195, in 94th position. The Porsche Cayman S is the V6 leader. That's number 448. And that is in 87th position. There are over 20 classes here, by the way. The Door Motorsport McLaren Artura Trophy car is the SP8T leader in 59th position. Famous McLaren number there. The Reiter Engineering Porsche 911 GT3 Cup SP7 leader, the number 91 car, is in 65th position. In TCR, Mark Basseng is in the pits at the moment for the Hyundai number 830. They've bossed that class for years. The SP40 is the Max Kreuzer Racing GTI Club Sport SP40 leader in the number 50. Now, that's the one I was watching the onboard of earlier on. That SP40 category is the one with the 2 development engines, Elantras, from Hyundai in that. Cup 3 is a 718 Cayman, the WNS Motorsport number 562. That's right at 50. Just one place behind that, Max Kreuzer Racing VW Golf in SP40. The Dirk Adolf SP Pro 992 Porsche, the Manthey car, is leading its class in 47th for number 992 as well. Black Falcon number 632 leads AT2, alternative fueled. That's a Porsche GT3 Cup. The 632 in 43rd position. Just seen RPM Racing's 777. That's Patrick Heisman. And that is Tracy Krohn car as well, the RPM Racing run machine. They are in 31st position and leading the Porsche GT3 Cup car for 992 Cup class cars. 992.1, I suppose we have to say now. There's none of the new cars here. The 81 alternative fuel class is the Audi of Max Kreuzer Racing. The number 75 car, they're inside the top 30 at 27. The K. Kramer Racing UG Audi LMS GT3 Evo 2 is the best. Sorry, no, I'm talking complete nonsense. The BMW M Motorsport is the SPX leader, which is the Touring. That's number 81 in 12th overall. These are the times that were set earlier on today. And all of the top 11 are SP9 standard class car. An SP9. I have an SP and the SP9 AMs this year. No, just the SP Pro. Okay. And the top runner in SP9 is the overall leader and the times, with the 8:14 that was set earlier on today, some 3 seconds quicker for the Ravenol Windward Racing AMG GT3, the number 80 car. That was who set the time in that earlier on today, Peter? The fastest time
in the
Windward 80. Fabian Schiller. Sorry. At RSL_studios, we've got a few more cars coming out. I think Max Verstappen came straight back into the pits after that.
He did.
Exploratory lap.
I mean, it was a tremendous lap of 68 minutes, wasn't it?
Yes.
I mean, it was hugely impressive.
Yeah.
Very tongue-in-cheek. You've got me thinking here, John, and this is...
He's done a lap. Listen, he's done a timed lap in the dark, in the wet.
Yeah.
Mission accomplished.
Exactly.
He brought the car back.
As you'd expect of somebody at his level. As you said,
look at Matt Campbell's not even potentially racing this weekend. He tiptoed around in second and third gear to get that 911 back. And we are not criticising these drivers. They did what they had to do.
What's the four-wheel drive car you think's in this?
The Dupre S3 limousine. It's the VT. It's the.
Which class is it in?
VT Hecker.
Hecker's rear-wheel drive.
They were moved 2 seasons ago out of the rear-wheel drive car class into the front-wheel drive class. And I think it's still the Quattro, the S3 Quattro. I would go down and ask them, but they're in the same garage as Max, so we're not allowed in there. None of the press are allowed.
It's listed as front-wheel drive.
Is it?
VT2 front.
Yes. It used to
the
be.
class?
Yes,
Okay.
they put the all-wheel drive car in the front class, I think.
I'm not doubting you. I'm just.
Right, I'm going to look it up now.
Journalism.
It's the family have a fantastic history in racing, and they've been running cars here for years. It's Dupree, D-U-P-R-E-E, isn't it? Racing. And they have a little tuning company as well. So they've done all the work in-house.
No, it's Dupree with an accent. It's
Dupree with an accent, right. Now, who's that just heading out? That's Alessio Vicariello in the Dunlop Porsche, Dunlop Motorsport Porsche.
I think you're absolutely right, John, that it is entered in the VT2 front-wheel drive, but it also, that class can include rear-wheel drive.
It got moved out of the rear drive class a couple of seasons ago because they were doing rather well. And they Christophe Dupree ran a Honda Civic, I think, beforehand, but they've got a long history.
John, as ever, you're absolutely right. It is a four-wheel drive.
Thank you. I mean,
it's just in the front-wheel drive class.
Yes, yes.
That's what threw me. I'm easily confused. Okay, I'm new to it.
Christophe Dupree, who's in that car, has driven an Audi R8 LMS. He's raced it. And they are lovely, lovely people. Go and find them on Facebook or on. And if you are an Audi fan, you will immediately get into these guys. They look after Audi, VW, Porsche, and Honda. And I think it's Dupree.de. Yes, it is. And I had a long chat with them a couple of seasons ago, and you know, just because they were in a garage with another big team actually, and I went to have a chat and have a look around one of the cars, and I said it was just the bright red car. It had no livery on it whatsoever. They've been, what, 50 years in motorsport. They've done GT1, GT2, GT3, GT4, VLN, here at the Nürburgring, Carrera Cup, Sports Cup, hill climbs, you name it, they've done it, and they're supported and they're relied upon by the Saarland University of Applied Sciences, which is their neck of the woods. And I mean, they've been class winners many times. Class winners. They are lovely, lovely people. And just a perfect example. There they are with one other BMW team in the garage with the most sought-after man here this weekend in terms of publicity. That car just been pushed back in. The number 3, Verstappen.com by Winward. So here's the little red. See, now, I know this is bizarre, but I kind of want to see if the little red S3 is just off to the right of that car sitting at the back, because that's where it was. The Dupree banners are up on the wall. So the 2 AMGs are at the front there, and the BMW is back left, and the Audi is back right.
There's the sister car, the 80.
That's the Ravenol car, which is the fastest car today. Resplendent in dark blue and Ravenol gold. That's a strong lineup as well, isn't it?
Just
Maro Engel. I mean, you could have an argument.
Make an AMG Mercedes just talk.
Well, you can have an argument about who is the best GT3 driver in the world, but Engel's in the conversation. He has to be in the conversation.
I would certainly say he's the best Mercedes driver in the world.
Do you think so?
Yeah.
I mean, he's got some stiff competition, even in that car. Actually, when you that team is, that is stacked, isn't it? So Lucas Stoltz, Fabi Schiller, and Max Martin. Max Martin in the rain round here, and sharing. I mean, Max knows how to pick good teammates. Let's be honest, because in the 3 car, he's got Daniel Hunkadea, Gilles Gounon, and Lucas Auer. And Gilles Gounon will give anybody in an AMG a good run for his money. I mean, those are those names that I've mentioned there, those 6 drivers. And then you've got Max Verstappen, who obviously isn't going to let you down. But those 6 drivers are in the conversation for best GT driver in the world right now.
You made me laugh earlier or made me giggle to myself when you were talking about Jean-Marc Gounon, Jules' father, who was paid for a season of single-seater for him, then said, right, the rest of it, get into Carrera Cup, get into Porsche, get into, with a roof over your head and doors and whatever, and that's the road for you and the avenue for you. Boy, was that the right decision. But it made me giggle inside because I was very, very lucky in the dark mists of time to have him as a teammate, or I was his teammate one race at Monza in GT1 days. And he was absolutely mad as a balloon.
Yeah.
Wonderful man.
Oh, yes.
A crazy company, and tales I can tell you over that weekend. I cannot tell you on air.
No.
But nothing nefarious, but just so funny and just uber cool, and got in the car and just did the job. And outsiked one of my teammates, Mr. Bobby Verdon Rowe.
Ah, yes.
And did it so beautifully, so nicely. It was such a neat thing to watch doing. I once described it as he just got inside his head and scratched around a bit.
The Dunlop Porsche, the number 17 car, spotted without any headlights. So they'll be getting a slap on the wrist of that. And
I'm sure they would have wanted them.
Yes, indeed so. I think they've been already summoned, actually. Talking to Maro Engel, as I brought his name up, and I think it was might have been, it was the back end of last year when Max Verstappen was here in the Ferrari, and Maro was at the 24 Hours of Barcelona, and I was talking to him about, I see you everywhere, and he said, yeah, well, I'm not surprised. I'm doing 40 race weekends this year. 40 race weekends. That's no testing, nothing else. These guys live in the cars, and all right, I know in certain series you change your tyre manufacturer. GT3s around the world running on all kinds of tyre manufacturers. Michelin in the IMSA series, Pirelli in SRO, Hankook, Goodyear in the ACO series, and. But cast your mind back, Peter, to when you were doing full seasons. Full seasons might have been, 6 or 7 endurance races, and these guys are doing 40 race weekends a year?
Yes, I mean, yes, but it depends on whether you did different series. And don't forget, those are 40 races across probably 3 to 4 championships.
Not all of which are endurance, in fairness.
Yeah,
yes.
So you can be doing, World Endurance Championship. You can be doing IMSA. You can
24H series.
24H series. You can be doing NLS. Intercontinental GT Challenge, this is a round of, etc. So yes, so you did in the GT days. You did have people that did British GT and then FIA GT.
Yes.
And of course, since 20 years ago of the advent of the FIA GT3 series. Just one thing I wanted to very quickly mention, John. We were talking about who might be best in a car, and as you say, we like Twitter comments, or whatever. But I've just got a little message from somebody. I'm going to ask you. I'm going to put to you what I've just been told.
Yeah.
And we were talking about who is the best in a car, possibly in the dry. And I'd say Max Martin in the dry.
Right, interesting.
Come from Simon Strang. Just popped up with.
Yeah.
He said he was
Strangy.
unbelievably fast in the old maid in 2018 when they should have won it. And he said Maxime is unbelievable. Full stop.
Yes, he is. He is. Another one
Good to hear
of
from you, Strangy.
Hi, Simon. The next generation of racing driver being coached by Simon at the moment. He's a young lad, actually ripping up the British karting scene at the moment. Not with one of the fancy teams, but doing great work. Keep your eyes open for the Strang name coming through. The reason I said R was because the Ford Mustang GT3, the Ford Racing Mustang GT3 number 67, has just gone out. Now that is the car that's in the Army colours, and that is the Dennis Olsen, Fred Vervish, Frank Stipler. You know what? Frank might still be in the conversation. I know he's been around a long time. Dennis Olsen certainly would be. Vervish, yeah. Frederick Vervish been breaking records around here in that GT3 car for Porsche, taking on the Porsche records for Ford. He said, I think they set the fastest American car record in a Mark IV Ford GT, and then he took the GT3 out. Chris Meeks taking that car out. That was the car that's had its engine changed, so that's just gone back out. The Bundeswehr colours is the German Army colours on that car.
One more thing to say.
Yes.
We know motorsport is a very small community.
Oh, yeah.
Very tight-knit, and we travel a little circus that goes to different places around the world.
Travelling circus.
Final message from Simon Strang. And I can show you this if you don't believe me.
No.
Just says, tell John I love him. There you go. So we'll just leave that there, shall we?
Love you too, Strangy. Hello,
Fred
Alan.
Vervish, as you say, back out in the Mustang. That's the number
Yeah.
67
Is it Fred that went out?
entry.
Right,
And,
that's interesting, okay.
Just compare the engine note of this to a few minutes ago Verstappen's V8 Mercedes, and how different it is and the revs they're using.
Well, first of all, it's a flat plane crank.
Yeah.
5.4.
I mean the revs they're using.
Yeah, but he is revving it a lot
confidence.
more. Is this a team actually putting holes in the floor for the water to drain out? Oh, they're trying to ungum the drain plugs.
No, so they've got the front end off, haven't
Oh,
they?
is that what they're doing? Right, yeah.
It's the front clip off, and it's...
What car's that off them, Peter? Come on, work it out. I'm asking because I haven't got a clue.
I think I know you are. I know you, Mo. Don't worry.
Porsche? I think that's a Porsche. It's got those big
not
gaps.
Convinced. Oh, it is.
Oh, GT4 Porsche.
Yeah, but John, you are a Porsche neek.
Well, true. True.
Meant in the kindest possible way, but you are.
Yeah. Johanna says, in this weather, the Bundeswehr Camo Mustang will be totally invisible. Alan, hello, Alan Prosser. Finally sat down, although I'm still at work. Hello to everybody at the Malvern Hills Hotel. Bill and customers Keith and friends all watching. I have that on. When I finally get a weekend off or a few days off, Alan, I'll be across to see you.
I hate it for people in the pits. The bumper that's been worked on apparently is an M2 BMW.
Oh, was it? All right. Even more impressive.
Well, we'll see. We're in that garage now.
That's KCMG. That's the 47 cars. That's box. I think that's box 15.
It is. There.
Is that an M2? No,
987.
that is a 98. That's a 987 Cayman.
Yes,
If that's the
car
bumper.
next to it. Is that the garage that it's been worked on, though?
But it was right in front of that car, and that car hasn't got
Yeah,
the
but it's
front
not
clip
now.
on. It's no. It's right in front of the red
left of the
Porsche.
camera is now, but
That's the KCMG AMG, the number 47 car in that beautiful blue and chrome. And there's the Cayman with the bumper off, and
Yeah.
there's a red bumper right in front of it.
I think what's happening here is I've got friends in the pits that are trying to put us off.
Yeah.
Because I've just had said wrong. It's a Porsche.
Yeah,
So
it's
we're like,
definitely a Porsche.
You can't unsettle him that easy. You know who you are.
It's the big,
We're
big,
watching
big
you.
gaping
Your car's
holes.
marked.
It's the big gaping holes that Porsche have either side that they only put the grills on the GT3s. Even the GT4s don't have the grills on. And behind that on the road cars are the air conditioning intercoolers, radiators.
Stop.
No. That's how you spot
You've got
them.
to be very, very confident to challenge John's knowledge on anything Porsche related.
Meanwhile, also in a Porsche, the Dunlop Motorsport Porsche, teammate to the Falcon Porsche, Julien Andlar, out on the circuit at the moment, and headlights. I have to say, headlights that aren't as good as some of the other cars.
Sorry, what
that we've
headlights?
watched
They're
the
daytime
upwards.
driving lights.
I don't think he's got the endurance lights switched on there. They are they're great. The endurance lights on the front of the 992.
Curves, though, John, which is pretty important.
Well, that is
This is
true.
the 17 car that had the problem with the lights anyway, wasn't it? But it's got something on there.
Good point. It was the 17 car that had no front lights. If you're watching the World
It's picking
Fleet
up the
TV,
curbs. If you look, it's picking up the extremists of the track, which is absolutely fine.
they're actually set back into the bumper.
Yeah.
And much lower down than most people's are.
Yeah.
So they are a bit more like fog lights, curb
But
lights.
there's no long distance vision down the track, which is what we were looking at.
That's a bit weird, that. Out comes the HWR Evo. This is the black and pinstripe number 61. Number 61 sits in 48th position. 3 classic colours for the HWA Evos. Are they going out in the last, whatever it is, 21 minutes that we've still got left? Been a long old day for the teams today, hasn't it? And we got an early start in the morning with cars on the track at about 9 o'clock local time. So set your watches for that. Hello to Ben. Says surely Kevin Estre has to be in with a shot of top GT3 driver. Fair point. Well made. We do this every year.
To be fair, I was referring to in a Mercedes particularly.
Yes,
Started
no,
with
no,
GT, I
yeah.
took it to the Mercedes level, so...
We do this every year at the Maguire's Bathurst 12 hours. And between myself and Mr. 8 times, Mr. 6 times, sorry, of Bathurst 1000, Garth Tander, and Richard Creel, we debate a variety of categories. Now, just in case anybody thought I was telling a porky when I said there were normal petrol pumps that they were filling from, it is Total Energy Excellium Super Plus, and going into that, is that the HWA that's filling? 80 litres, 81 now. There is no price per litre on there. But I'll tell you why
want to know.
Well, I'll tell you why that is, because everybody, it is the HWA, everybody pays a fuel deposit when you pay your entry. And one of the most endearing things and the most enduring memories that I have of this race from the early years, and I suspect there's not any difference now, it's a big fuel tank, it's up to 110 litres already, is, I think it was the first or the second year we used to work in one of the hospitality suites over the pit lane towards the pit out. So when we packed everything up, so that would have been 2007 maybe, 2008, it's going to be 119. Oh, he's gone over, he's gone to 0.1. Don't you hate it when that happens?
Yeah, exactly. It's always 20
He's absolutely, the fuel man's absolutely gutted. He's gone to 119.1 litres. He's got to squeeze another 0.99 in now. He's not going to get that in. So as I'm walking back along the back balcony and looking down at the Parc Fermé, we come across a big room. 119.12. Did get a bit more in. And there's a whole queue of people, a whole line of people, and a set of clerks sitting with what I was very familiar with. I started my working career in National Westminster Bank in the UK, in Sunderland. 112 High Street was my bank, 556111 was the sort code. And we used to have to add up the remittances during the day. And you didn't do that on a calculator in those days, Peter. You did that on an old adding machine. Pulled the lever, and you had a little printout that did it, so that if you had to go back and check if something didn't balance at the end of the day, you had a record of it. And here are 8, 10, 12 people doing that. Couldn't understand what it was, so I stuck my head in and spoke to one of the guys on one of the teams I knew, who had a whole load of paper in his hand. And the paper was, I can't remember whether it was a blue copy or a pink copy or a yellow copy, but basically it was a copy of a fuel receipt. So every time during the race that you come in those days, that looks like it's a bit more digital nowadays, but I bet there's a receipt somewhere. Then the person who is on that pump, there is an official on each pump, makes a note of it, gets you to sign, and you keep one of the copies. At the end of the race, you take all your fuel receipts in. Your copies are compared with the copies that they've got.
Copies,
so let's say your car, number 66, the HRT Ford Racing GT3 Mustang. So they pull out the file for the number 66 car, they look at what they've got, they look at what you've got, they add them all up, and they come to a number of litres of fuel. And then they work out whether they owe you money or you owe them money, because you've already paid them in advance your fuel deposit. But if you haven't used that fuel, if you've gone out early or you've been particularly frugal, then they work out, and I can't remember what the fuel deposit was, let's say it was €2,000, I'm sure it was probably more than that, but let's say it was, and you've used €1,900, they give you €100 back. And if you've used 2,100
that doesn't happen.
And then you give them €100. And it was all being done on old-fashioned adding machines. And I thought to myself, I love this race already. Just for that.
If it's not broken, why fix it? Exactly.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's the reason, by the way, for those of you who perhaps aren't used to this form of motorsport, even in the race you won't see hurried pit stops, because there's a statutory time for each pit stop. And depending on how many laps you do out of the pits, depends how long your pit stop is. And the reason they do that is because with all those fuel pumps down the pit lane, it would be impossible to equalise the fuel flow. So basically, they are giving you time that is more than enough time to fully fuel the tank. If you do 5 laps, your pit stop time is shorter than if you do 8 laps, to allow you to have your fuel fill. It's brilliantly worked out.
I've looked up some numbers for you.
Right.
So the fuel cost just under €3 a litre.
Right.
Okay. A GT3 car will consume somewhere, depending on pace and how long the race lasts, 3,000 to 4,000 litres of fuel for a 24-hour race.
Right.
So that puts it at 10 to 15,000 euros in fuel. And actually, I'm going to say €3 a litre is
that's not bad for race fuel.
That's not bad at all for race fuel. No.
Now the thing is,
I know what some of the sustainable stuff is costing for historics.
About £5 and £8.
Try 7.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. A litre.
That's pounds rather than
pound.
Euro.
Exactly.
But that was branded as Total Excellium Super. So does that mean they are running on? I think they are running on pump fuel here.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, very, very foggy out the far side where Aychan Guvin is. That is... Yeah, that's the full carousel. He's just come through there. So getting up towards the highest part of the circuit in the number 911 Grello. Alan Prosser likes the HWA number 61. He says it gives him Tron light cycle vibes with that black and white paintwork. I know exactly what you mean.
Right. Excellium Racing fuel is 100% sustainable fuel?
Yes.
Right, so it is a bit more, it's between €4 to €6 per litre, which is more, I thought that was a bit more.
It said Excellium 98 on there.
The high-end road fuel is around about 2.5 to 3 litres.
Right, okay.
Euros per litre.
Yeah. And fair play to Total Energies, actually, as we've just lost the sound from Manuel Metzger's car, so apologies for that. So you get to hear the eerie silence of the commentary booth at night. Fair play to Total Energies. I did a long trip to FIA World Endurance Championship in a Ford Mustang Dark Horse a few weeks ago, 2,600 miles, and by far, and there's the engine of the flat six purring away behind Manuel Metzger.
Dan Harper's currently the fastest man on track.
Surprised me not at all.
And the number 99 Rover Racing BMW M4 GT3.
Just to
down to an 8:18.
All right, so it's getting drier.
Yeah.
Just to finish the point about Total, it was noticeable that coming through France, and I got a tip off actually from a fellow traveller, and even on the péage, the Total Energies fuel costs were significantly cheaper per litre by sometimes 10 or 15 cents than local supermarkets. And if you were off the péage, it was well down. Now, then in Belgium it was cheaper still, and in Italy it was 20 to 25 cents cheaper. I'd never buy petrol in Switzerland if you don't have to, because that was very much more expensive. As I said, 2,600 miles that trip, and thoroughly enjoyed it. That's the Dark Horse R is the car on which the Mustang Challenge, or the Dark Horse rather, is the car on which the Mustang Challenge Dark Horse R, which we took to Le Mans last year for one of the support races. Chan Guven on his way back in the Porsche on the Dottinger Hurt. Nowhere near as bad as it was half an hour, 40 minutes ago. Still lifting for the Bilstein Bridge curve, Antonius Bucher. Early lift and down changes to thereof into the Tiergarten. Just listening to that Porsche engine purring across the line. What was Chan Guven's time then? Yeah, that was a 57-minute 35. So that tells you again how long these cars have been in the pit lane. So take off about 12 or 13 minutes of that, and the teams have worked out that there hasn't been much work to do in the last hour or so. So take some quotes from down in the pit lane. The BMW number one, around about 5 minutes ago, Rafael Marcello said they're calling it a day, and he only actually drove on the Grand Prix track. He said it didn't make any sense at all to go out in the Nordschleife and take a risk. It's dark and the wet conditions are varying too much. We've checked the lights again. We're close to the front. Our AMG looks fast, so do the Porsches, but we're here to fight and win again. Another car that didn't go out there onto the Nordschleife is the Winward car. Maro Engel saying it was very wet. We didn't bother going on the Nordschleife for the last few laps. Too much aquaplaning, very dangerous. We tested a few things on the Grand Prix circuit. Oh, now that's interesting. So the Dacia Logan has been given a 5-place penalty when Christian Dalfus was stuck up at the Cracciola carousel. The stewards have deemed he did an unsafe U-turn, and his obstruction of the competitors have led the stewards to penalise him.
Which car was that?
That was the Dacia, the Logan.
Okay. It's a tough call without seeing it. It's a tough call.
We saw it, and I mean,
if we swapped ends, it's difficult to get the thing round
there.
Yeah.
Nicky Katzberg out of the Lamborghini Huracan, the number 130 app Red Bull car. He said, I just did a few laps on the GP circuits, as a few others have. It was almost dry at one point. I think we probably should have gone at the Nordschleife. It would have been possible at that point. But anyway, we're just trying to minimise the risk. Car's feeling good. Completed our full programme. And, sorry, that's just scrolled down out of the way. And what we've seen so far, we're happy with. Hopefully the weather gods will be on our side tomorrow, as well as on Saturday and Sunday. Car feels good. Mercedes seem fast. Porsche looks strong in the wet as well. Not sure we can keep up in the rain with the Lamborghini, but we should be good in the dry, so let's hope for that. Oliver Kuntz, very foggy, very slippery, very, very tricky. That should be on a t-shirt, shouldn't it? Just standard. Absolute challenge, but it worked out. The rain stopped for me, but the track was still wet, and when you have the spray from those driving in front, it's not so great. Oliver driving in the Cayman 718 Type 982, and it is the number 982, and we saw that car struggling just a little bit. What we're down to now, 7 minutes left. Chan Guven's gone out again, Peter, and he's just going down into the foxhole now. You're right about those curb lights, if you will, cornering lights, but I think I would want to see something throwing a little bit further ahead. Are their lights off, or have they? Do you think they've just? Oh, actually, hard to say now. But they're not as good as, say, the AMG, are they? That we saw earlier.
Seemingly not, but this is all you need. You've got to remember this circuit, short of coming onto the Dotting Hoa, where there's a lot of straight. You don't need to look that far down the road. That sounds silly because there's so much cornering here. 170 something corners we said, hasn't there? You're always looking left, right, left, right. You're always looking to it. So actually, those curbs are what you're going to focus on, and in your mind map, your track in your mind will be negotiating those corners.
Yes.
And listen to the revs. So it probably doesn't matter that much, which probably sounds like a really silly thing to say when you're doing 120 miles an hour. But drivers are a strange breed, we know that.
Oh, are they ever? Are they ever?
I know not. What did you speak of, sir?
So we did have, about half an hour ago, the Dunlop Porsche team manager being asked to go to the stewards. We think, Clark the course, sorry, we think that was for the headlights not being on. As Peter said at the time, I think they would have liked it. And the Subaru, see, there's another four-wheel drive car as well. In the SP4T category, the WRX, it's the STI car. Oh no, actually, there's a Dutch driver in, Carlo van Daan, along with Koto Sasaki, Takuko Iguchi and Rimato Kubo. So that's another four-wheel drive car. They got a black flag, which is why I looked them up. We are going to have a huge amount of cars at the end of the first lap on Saturday. I mean, I'm going to have to go back through this or ask for a readout of how many cars. I think there's going to be 10 to a dozen at least. Some penalty points going on there. 45-second stop and go for the next race. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 6 on the screen that I can see there. 7. So
I think people are starting to wind down, aren't they, John? With 4 minutes to go, which is what, half a lap in reality, isn't it?
Do you go out now and have one more go?
No.
Oh, there's another driver.
I'm going to say not at this point of the weekend, because that's where it all goes wrong.
Leo Ye has just got out of his car with a GoPro fastened to
the visor.
His visor. That is absolutely not allowed. That's against all regulations. That's a safety point, because visors and helmets are not homologated for FIA safety code with anything fastened onto them. what it basically, I was describing this to Joe earlier on, because he sort of looked at me, and basically a helmet and a visor are there to protect your head, and it's to protect blunt force, normally from a distance, or even if something gets thrown up into the car, a stone or something would bounce off. So think of it this way: if I threw a screwdriver at your head, likelihood is, unless I was some kind of brilliant darts player, that it would bounce off your head. If I put the screwdriver right on your head and just tapped it with a hammer,
Fatal.
It could be fatal.
I'm totally with you. I think the only point I'm going to make here is that I would absolutely agree with the helmet, because you damage the carcass and its integral structure. The visor less so, but I would just going to say I would want a GoPro attached to the visor right in front of me, even less right in my eye line.
Exactly.
As we just saw there. So sorry to have highlighted it there, but I think that's absolute madness.
I think that'll get sanctioned.
How important it can be to get a bit of footage there. Just secure it to a roll cage.
I'm pretty certain it's against regulation. A lot of people won't even let you do it on a track day, and not even have a mount on your helmet, never mind the GoPro as well.
Well, even on track days now in the UK and Europe, which I do very occasionally, but you have to have them fixed and then a secondary tether.
Yes.
So that
in the car.
Correct. So if that mounting fails for any obscure reason, it is still tethered within a reason, and it flails, but it doesn't flail loose inside the car. The main reason being not hitting the driver or occupants of the car, getting onto the floor and getting onto the pedals.
Correct.
So you can't press the brake pedal.
We once nearly had a very big accident when I was a rally co-driver, when we were out in the middle of the night doing what were then called road rallies, and of course you took your picnic with you, or your bait with you, and a rather large pasty got free from our bait box and got lodged underneath the brake pedal of the car, and we almost had a big accident. And worse still, it would have crushed the pasty as well. It wasn't my snack. I am being told by the magical voice, which is always inside my head, that there were quite punitive penalties handed out last year for drivers with mounts and or cameras on their helmet, be it...
I just don't know why you would. I'm sorry. It's beyond me. But sorry, it's out there. But with the technology that's available these days, on relatively inexpensive, simple stuff, that is easily mountable to so many surfaces and areas in a race car. I get the wanting to cover it.
Alan Prosser, you're probably spot on. That driver, jumped out of the number 86 Subaru, which had got the black flag. I wonder if they gave him the black flag and that's why we got the pictures of it in the pit lane. Alan, you're a genius, mate.
Always good to see him, Alan.
Alan, yeah. In the pit lane for the Dunlop number 17 car, they're still... are they looking at the headlights? No, they're just turning it around.
86 is the high-class racing.
86 is high-class racing, is it right? Okay. Yes, that was the car that you got out of. Sorry, not the Subaru. The
Porsche, yeah.
The dark red and white. The checkered flag is out. There are a few people out there, including Chan Guvin. We've got the Red Bull Lamborghini, the number 84, still out there. And we have a course car out as well that's picked up Chan Guvin. Now that is unusual. I've not seen that before. On the Grand Prix circuit. I know what this is. They are making sure he doesn't go back out onto the circuit. The fast times tonight did not usurp anything we saw earlier on today. So in essence, the provisional results for for this evening are as they were after the afternoon session, which sees Winward Racing on top with the Ravenol car, the number 80 machine, with Fabi Schiller's time of an 8:14.957. We got down into the low nines. Oh no, we actually got into the 8s again, didn't we?
We did.
We did.
8:14 was the best recorded.
Yes, well done. Well remembered for that.
Maro Engel and the Winward Racing, number 80.
So fastest this afternoon and fastest this evening. There are further sessions for the cars that don't get into, well, the first sessions for everybody, and they will be hoping for better conditions to see if they can improve. But that brings us to the end. If you want the full rundown, get yourself onto the site. It is Winward's Mercedes from Rover Racing BMW, from Winward in third. It's the Verstappen racing car. So 2 Winwards and 2 Rover racing cars on the first 4. Then the Manthey Porsche number 911, Red Bull Lamborghini number 130 in 6th. But that was in the dry. These are all dry times that have set these positions. Nobody improved tonight. The best of BMW, Sherbert in 7th. Then the best of the Mustangs, the 64 HRT in 8th. Top 10 made up by the Scherer Sport, Audi and the Dunlop Motorsport, number 17. Running through some class leaders, the BMW M3 Touring, the 81 is the best in SPX. Max Kreuzer Racing, the best of the AT, the alternative fuel cars, sitting in 27th. Patrick Heisman was last out in the RPM Racing bright green Porsche, the 777, down in 31st position. More class leaders at the bottom end of the top 50. Black Falcon number 632 in 43rd. They were their class leader in alternative fuels too. Manthey Dirk Adolf in the SP Pro number 992 in 47th. Then Max Kreuzer Racing SP4T, leader in that category, the number 50 in 49th position. W&S Motorsports Porsche led the Cup 3 category from the earlier times, 962 in 50th position. Then we go down to 58th for Hyundai's TCR topper. That's the 830, Mark Bassing out in that car this evening. The Wright Engineering SP7 Porsche led its class, number 91 in 65th position. The Door Motorsport McLaren Artura Trophy SP8T leader, the 59 in 68th position. And we'll catch up in a second. The Porsche Cayman V6 leader was the 448 in 87th position. The BMW M240i leader, the 195 Adrenaline Motorsport car, in 94th position. The Dupre Audi Saloon VT12 front and 4-wheel drive. The Valkenhaus Motorsport BMW M2 Racing 898 in 103rd led its class, as did Max Kreuzer Racing's VW Golf GTI Club Sport, the number 10 car, SP3T leader. V5 was the Porsche Cayman number 440 in 119th position. Remember, we had 161 cars on the starting list. The 325i class for BMWs was led by the 100 in 126th position. Toyota Gazoo Rookie Racing for the GR Yaris led the SP2T class in 109th position. And there are a couple more class leaders, I think. Oh no, just one more. Down in 159th position, the 325 CI, and that's you look at the positions, and that is just about it for us for today. Started off in the light and in changeable conditions. It was a decision for the drivers on whether to go out at all or whether to go out on slicks or intermediates for those who had the opportunity. The weather was not really playing very fair as darkness fell and the sun dropped down to the east of the circuit. The weather got progressively worse to the point where there was about an hour in full darkness where very few cars were going out onto the Nürburgring. The problem was just getting temperature in the tyres, particularly the front tyres, we had a bit of argy-bargy between the BMWs in the shell colours, including, I saw somebody calling it Das Boot, because it's got a big boot. Not quite what it means. The Dacia's going to get a 5-grid penalty, place penalty, for an unauthorised U-turn at the Caracciolo carousel after the Logan spun and was left facing the traffic on the high side. And then they had a problem getting, the gearbox had seized for a moment and they had to crank it over and then get a point in the right direction. Dorian Boccolacci had a problem, didn't he, in the number 17 Dunlop Porsche. I wonder if that was what set the lights off later on after he clouted.
Good shout.
The barriers. It got very, very bad in the dark. Verstappen went out for a single lap on tiptoes, which was counted as a 68-minute lap. That wasn't all Max's time, of course, because it had been in the pits for a very long time. It was catching out the best of them, including Lucas Stoltz, as he had a bit of a spin. And then 677 BMW from memory went around. It was touch and go at one stage whether it might dry up, and the 4th place Rover BMW was going very nicely, but it never really got full dry. It was that greasiness that you get in the cold, and it was very cold. We could see our breath when we came back from dinner, and as night fell, so did the rain. It got worse and worse. We could still see the castle, only just, and it was fortune favouring the brave. The Grello car with Thomas Preining went out, and at that point there was still just a bit of a drying line, or drier line. When Matt Campbell went out in the same car, Peter, it was literally survival mode. And Matt was barely out of 2nd and 3rd gear.
He did well to bring it back, to be honest. It was not easy, was it? Certainly for an Australian who's not particularly used to driving in the rain so often. But one of the cars that all cars have got to come back. It's tricky conditions, and as you said today, this didn't really count for a lot this afternoon, other than this afternoon into this evening, other than data collection and that valuable bit of rotating the drivers through the cars that have all had the experience. But the risk-reward ratio extremely high. So at that point, Matt Campbell, I think he was using about 500 revs all the way around.
I think it was literally on tick over. The good news is that the Ford Mustang GT3 that had the engine problem when Chris Meese was out earlier on today, that car did make it back and did a couple of installation laps. And the number 900 BMW that was involved in the incident that has caused the retirement of the GT all-female team, that black Falcon car, is brand new and is back. And that's it for today. Join us tomorrow, early doors, 9 o'clock. Bye-bye.